Chapter 172. You actually think that you can self-destruct in front of me? Hun Tiandi stood up from the blood lotus after his rich, disdainful, indifferent voice sounded. He widened his mouth and a suction force surged. In an instant, the 6-7-star Do Sheng soul bodies that had yet to explode were directly swallowed into his body. An aura that seemed to be above the world surged out from Hun Tiandi's body when he attacked. It caused the vast sea of blood in the lake to form a huge wave. A group of ants. Hun Tiandi laughed coldly after swallowing the 6-7-star Do Sheng soul bodies that had self-destructed without any effort. His blood-red eyes appeared exceptionally evil. Gu Yuan, I am still faster than you in the end. A demonic smile surfaced on Hun Tiandi's face. His eyes were thrown towards the empty space. That was the direction of the Gu clan's ancient realm. Congratulations to clan leader for being crowned as DD. At this moment, a ripple appeared in the empty space. 7 black figures appeared in the sky above the sea of blood. They were the 3 elders and the 4 demon saints in the large hall. Hun Tiandi's eyes swept over the 7 of them. He said, I have yet to truly become a DD. Currently, I can only be considered a half DD. Even though this is the case, my current strength is far from what it was in the past. Hun Tiandi seemed to have thought of something after he spoke. His eyes hardened. Has Hun Qianmo probed that fellow called Boss Chu? Hun Qianmo and Hun Huzi are already dead. Sir Tun Yan's seed flame has also been extinguished. The 4 demon saints exchanged glances with each other. They recounted the news that Hun Qianmo had sent back to the Bodhisattva ancient tree and the shattering of the soul jade. What exactly happened? Who killed them? Hun Tiandi's wild and violent aura spread after hearing the 4 demon saints' words. It contained a frightening might. The 4 demon saints shook their heads. We do not know for now. None of the clan members who had headed to the Yao clan returned. Hun Tiandi's expression became increasingly gloomy after hearing this. Clan leader, what is your next plan? The 4 demon saints looked at Hun Tiandi respectfully. Hun Tiandi narrowed his eyes. His voice was cold. Exterminate the 7 clans. Obtain the 2 Shi ancient god jade and open the ancient god mansion, using the D pill to truly step into the D state. After the Void Trade Fair, Chu Bei returned to the ancient tribe's residence under Gu Shan's warm invitation. At the peak of a mountain, Gu Yuan looked into the distance. Behind him, Gu Shan was narrating his experiences. Clan leader, do you think Boss Chu has become an emperor or not? Gu Shan asked the question that was bothering him. Gu Yuan shook his head and sighed. Even if he's not a true emperor, he's still a half-emperor. Go and bring Xiao Yin over. It is time to bring him to meet someone. Gu Yuan turned around, looked at Gu Shan, and instructed. 15 minutes later. Uncle Gu, you want to see me? Xiao Yin looked at the back of the figure in front of him nervously. Little fellow, it's about time I brought you to meet him. Gu Yuan first greeted Chu Bei with his eyes before his gaze landed on Xiao Yin. As soon as his calm voice fell, Gu Yuan waved his hand, and a terrifying spatial fluctuation spread out. Then, under Xiao Yan's shocked gaze, a black spatial door that led to an unknown depth slowly tore open. This is the door that leads to the heavenly tomb. Gu Yuan pointed at the spatial door and said calmly, Are you going to bring him to meet his ancestor? At this moment, Chu Bei's smiling voice drifted in the air. Boss Chu, you even know this? Gu Yuan was surprised. Everything in the world can be calculated with a pinch of the fingers. Chu Bei was very calm. Ancestor? Listening to the conversation between Gu Yuan and Chu Bei, Xiao Yin was confused. Gu Yuan glanced at Xiao Yin and continued. This heavenly tomb has existed in the ancient world since ancient times and buried countless experts. Among them is your ancestor, Xiao Xin's tomb. Why would my ancestor be in this heavenly tomb? Xiao Yin was even more confused. Looks like you don't know enough about the Xiao clan. Gu Yuan pointed his finger, and a strand of divine thought about the Xiao clan entered Xiao Yan's glabella. After sorting out the information flow, Xiao Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. In ancient times, there was actually a Do Di in the Xiao clan. Xiao Yin was shocked. After calming down, he said, Ancestor Xiao Xin has been dead for many years. Uncle, what do you mean by bringing me to meet him? The experts who were buried in the heavenly tomb will produce an energy imprint. After the passage of time, these imprints will eventually turn into their previous appearance. Gu Yuan glanced at Xiao Yin. No matter what, he was the person who was closest to becoming a Dodi in your clan. Although he failed to break through, he left behind some things. As he spoke, Gu Yuan took the lead and stepped into the spatial door. Xiao Yin immediately followed. Before long, Gu Yuan and the others arrived outside a cave with a barrier. How many years has it been? I, Xiao Xian, have finally arrived. Just as Xiao Yin stepped into the cave, a powerful voice sounded from deep within. At this moment, Xiao Yin could feel a strange fluctuation in the blood flowing in his body. This kind of fluctuation contained an extremely familiar feeling. Immediately, some ripples appeared in the empty space in front of Xiao Yin. A figure in pale green clothes quietly appeared. Old fellow, after thousands of years, your Xiao clan has finally produced a younger generation who can catch my eye. Gu Yuan stood with his hands behind his back and smiled at Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian nodded gratefully at Gu Yuan, after which his eyes locked onto Xiao Yin. A strange energy wrapped around the latter from between his brows. Ancestor, what are you doing? Xiao Yan's brows were filled with confusion. He allowed the other party's energy to flow within his body. He believed that the other party would not harm him. Good kid. 16 years old, 7-star Do Zun. You far surpassed me back then. Xiao Xian withdrew the energy that was flowing within Xiao Yan's body. After laughing in satisfaction, he seemed to have sensed something strange. He frowned slightly. What I don't understand is that the Do Qi in your body has not settled. It is as if it has just been plucked from the world. What is going on? Ancestor, 3 months ago, I was still a third-stage Doji Qi. It is all thanks to Boss Chu that I am able to have my current cultivation. Xiao Yin scratched his head. He spent about half an hour recounting his experiences over the past 2 months to Xiao Xian. You can raise your cultivation with money. After hearing Xiao Yan's story, Xiao Xian was dumbfounded. That exaggerated expression did not look like someone who had once stood at the peak of the continent. After recovering from his shock, Xiao Xian sized up Chu Bei. However, the moment his spiritual sense came into contact with Chu Bei's body, it mysteriously disappeared before it could even enter. Brother Xiao, Boss Chu is not someone you can easily see through. Gu Yuan seemed to have seen through Xiao Xian's intentions and said with a smile, money can not only raise one's cultivation, it can also revive the dead. Chu Bei glanced at Xiao Xian, his calm voice drifting in the cave. What? You can revive the dead with money? Hearing Chu Bei's words, Xiao Yin, Gu Yuan, and Xiao Xian suddenly trembled. Money is omnipotent with me. Chu Bei's gaze swept across the three of them as he continued, Boss Chu, if that's the case, how much money will it cost to revive Brother Xiao? Gu Yuan immediately asked, when the time comes, I will give you a price. The corner of Chu Bei's mouth curled up. In the All Heavens Mall, there were indeed many ways to revive the dead, but even the lowest level of goods was at level 12. Moreover, the resurrection methods required to revive experts of different strength were also different. Hearing that, Gu Yuan looked at Xiao Xian and said, Brother Xiao, as long as the time that Boss Chu mentioned comes, I will do my best to revive you. Then I, Xiao Xian, will thank you in advance. After laughing, Xiao Xian looked at Xiao Yin and said, Tell me about the current situation of the Xiao clan. Xiao Yin hesitated for a moment before saying, The Xiao clan is gone. There is only a declining Xiao family. They live in the Kama Empire's Wu-Tan city. After listening to Xiao Yan's description of the various changes in the Xiao family over the years, Xiao Xian sighed again with a helpless expression on his face. I also expected the Xiao clan to fall to such a state before I died. Fortunately, a person like you appeared in the Xiao clan thousands of years later, so we did not reach the point of despair. Xiao Xian smiled bitterly. Back then, I sensed that the Xiao clan's Dodi bloodline was about to dry up. In order to prevent the Xiao clan from being destroyed by some enemies who were eyeing it covetously, the Dodi bloodline of the Xiao clan was about to dry up. I could only take the risk and try to break through to the Do Emperor realm. After discussing with the elders in the clan, they used a secret technique to transfer most of the bloodline power of the entire clan into my body. That was the final hope of all the clan members. Xiao Xian's eyes were filled with reminiscence as he took a deep breath. Some pain finally appeared on his face. However, I still failed in the end. Moreover, I was ambushed by the Soul Clan and was seriously injured. I let down all the clan members. Looking at the self-blaming Xiao Xian, Xiao Yin was silent. Ancestor, you can't be blamed for all of this. You did it for the clan members. On the other hand, the Soul Clan is the main culprit for the decline of the Xiao family. The 8 ancient clans all have clan tattoos and bloodline strength. I have waited alone for so many years in hopes that they can be passed down. Xiao Xian's expression became incomparably serious when he spoke until this point. Now that you have arrived, I can finally put down this burden. Xiao Xian waved his hand after his voice sounded. A pool of water appeared in front of him. The pool water began to wildly swirl as it hovered above the surface of the pool. Following the rotation of the pool water, numerous blood-colored lights slowly seeped out of Xiao Xian's body. Finally, they were transmitted into the pool water through his feet. When this strange blood-colored liquid merged into the pool, the clear pool water gradually turned blood red. At a glance, it appeared like a blood pool. At the same time, Xiao Xian's black hair began to turn white. His face also became older. Xiao Yan's expression suddenly changed upon seeing this scene. He was just about to open his mouth when Xiao Xian in the pool slowly shook his head. He said, "Back then, I did my best to preserve some of the Dodi bloodline. Moreover, I used many methods to seal it. All of this was so that I could create a clan member who possessed the bloodline strength. The current me is merely a remnant spirit that can only drift within the heavenly tomb. I am unable to revive the Xiao clan. However, the heavens have not destroyed my Xiao clan. I believe that the Xiao clan will definitely return to being the leader of the continent under your leadership." Chapter 173. You are qualified to be the clan leader. Chu Bei commented as he looked at Xiao Xian, who was getting older but had a gentle look in his eyes. He could feel that the ancestor, who used to amaze the entire Xiao clan with his outstanding talent, had shouldered a huge burden for the entire clan. "Boss Chu, you must be joking. This is what I should do." In the end, I still let the Xiao clan down. The clear pool water turned redder as the blood flowed in. In the end, a strong smell of blood permeated the air. An extremely frightening, strange energy slowly spread out. Xiao Yin, who was standing beside the pool, did not feel uncomfortable at all when he felt the power rushing toward him. Instead, the blood in his body started to flow rapidly. It was an unknown desire. "Xiao Yin, don't hesitate. Enter the blood pool and inherit the last bloodline power that your ancestor left for you," Chu Bei said as he looked at the hesitant Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin looked at Chu Bei and finally made a decision. He jumped into the blood pool. "Little guy, you must lead the Xiao clan back to its peak." Xiao Xian, who had turned into a white-haired old man, smiled. Immediately, his voice became extremely hoarse and aged. Beneath this kind of old age, there was a kind of intense longing. Even if the younger generation of the Xiao clan could not step into the Emperor realm, he could at least reach the same level as him. "Ancestor, I will definitely revive the Xiao clan. Moreover, that day is not far away." Xiao Yin clenched his fist as he looked at Xiao Xian's old appearance. Splash! The blood pool started to ripple violently the moment Xiao Yin entered it. Streaks of blood energy, which were as thin as gossamer, pierced his body like needles. Finally, they barged into his pores and swam wildly in his blood. "Little guy, I have to wash away the ordinary blood in your body before I can inject blood with bloodline power into your body again," Xiao Xian said as he looked at the pale Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin nodded and clenched his teeth. Time passed by the minute and second. Many blood bubbles rose from the bottom of the blood pool, forming a whirlpool. Xiao Yin, who was in the middle of the whirlpool, had less and less flesh until he became a skeleton with only a layer of skin. But soon, strands of strange blood-colored liquid separated from the pool water and poured into the skeleton in an endless stream. Following the injection of the blood-colored liquid that was filled with a strange energy, Xiao Yan's shriveled skin began to rebound. Within seconds, Xiao Yin had recovered his original appearance. His life force was extremely strong. Gradually, The blood-red pool water turned clear, and Xiao Yan's aura steadily rose. 7-star Dozun. 8-star Dozun. 9 stars Dozun. By the time the aura on Xiao Yan's body stabilized, he had already entered the Ban Shang class. Rumble. With a loud sound, Xiao Yan jumped out of the pool water. When he opened his eyes, a lifelike spiral pattern appeared between his eyebrows. Boss Chu, the ancestor. Xiao Yan's eyes were filled with sorrow as he watched Xiao Xin disappear. To him, his burden has been lifted. Chu Bei patted Xiao Yan's shoulder. What you need to do next is to accumulate wealth. When the time comes, you will have enough money to spend on me and revive your ancestor. Okay. Xiao Yan nodded heavily. He did not doubt Chu Bei's words at all. The next day, above the southern region of the central region, the barrier of the flame world hidden in the void suddenly trembled. What's going on? Why is the earth trembling? Is it the turbulence of the void? Impossible. Our spatial barrier was built by our ancestors. How can it be affected by the turbulence of the void? That's right. Such a situation has never occurred in our race for thousands of years. Quickly go and investigate what happened. The void trembled and the earth trembled. In the flame world, the patrolling experts of the flame race all showed terrified and panicked expressions. However, before they could find out the reason, there was a loud bang. The spatial barrier shattered, and countless spatial fragments scattered in all directions. Not good. Enemies are attacking. Quickly informed the first elder. Seeing the black mass of an army that suddenly appeared in the void, the eyes of the patrolling experts of the flame race suddenly shrank. People of the soul race. A 3-star Do Sheng of the flame race looked at the army in the void. After recognizing the robes that represented their identity, a trace of seriousness appeared between his brows. Looking over, there were at least 2,000 figures in the void. Most of these figures had strange chains swaying behind them. What is the soul race doing? First, you attack the Yao race. Now, you are attacking the flame race. More and more experts of the flame race appeared in the sky and faced the black mass of the soul race army. Where is Yanjin? If he voluntarily hands over the 2 Shi ancient god jade, I will consider sparing your lives. Suddenly, a thick blood cloud appeared in the space where the soul race army was. The moment the blood cloud appeared, the thick scent of blood spread through the entire flame world. As the chilling voice rang out, waves of ripples appeared on the blood cloud. Then, under countless gazes, it slowly split open. Among the buzzing sounds, 7 figures riding black mist flew out of the blood cloud. In the end, they floated in front of the soul race army and stared coldly at the experts of the flame race. Greetings to the Do Sheng, Lord Demon Saint. The soul race army knelt and bowed to the 7 figures. However, the 7 figures ignored the soul race army and continued to look respectfully at the blood cloud. Another passageway split open in the blood cloud. Then a smear of blood came from afar and turned into a blood lotus that floated in front of the 3 Do Sheng and the 4 demon saints. The blood lotus floated in the air. A figure with bloody hair was sitting cross-legged on it. Along with his appearance, the smell of blood that permeated the air became even stronger to the extreme. Finally, the air fluctuated and the bloody scent agglomerated into blood droplets that covered the sky. They poured down like a storm. The blood rain covered the sky and landed on the mountain range below with a pitter-patter sound. That spectacular scene caused one's heart to feel an endless chill. Hun Tiandi, aren't you looking down on my Yin clan too much? A cry that was filled with monstrous fury sounded. A red-robed man appeared in the space in front of the experts of the Yin clan. Greetings to clan leader. The experts of the Yin clan immediately bowed when the red-robed man appeared. The red-robed man was the clan leader of the Yin clan, Yanjin. Like Yao Dan, he was also at the peak of the 8-star Dosheng class. There was a red-haired old man beside Yanjin. He was the old man from the Yin clan who had led the experts of the Yin clan to participate in the trade fair. Where is the 2 Shi ancient god jade? Hun Tiandi sat on the blood lotus. His long blood hair fluttered with the wind. A pair of scarlet eyes smilingly swept over the experts of the Yin clan. Finally, they paused on Yanjin. Hun Tiandi's body shook slightly after his indifferent voice sounded. A terrifying destructive might surge towards the experts of the Yin clan like a churning wave. D-state, you have broken through. Yin Jin and the experts of the Yin clan behind him had a change in expression after sensing Hun Tiandi's terrifying aura. The person who was most shocked was the red-haired old man beside Yin Jin. The might that Hun Tiandi had unleashed was something that he had sensed from the Do-Di remnant consciousness earlier. Although Hun Tiandi's aura seemed to be a little lacking compared to the Black Shadow Do-Di's aura, it still caused him to feel helpless. His instincts told him that the current Hun Tiandi had already surpassed the Do Shang class. Yin Jin, hand over the 2 ancient god jade. This emperor is giving all of you a chance. Hun Tiandi slowly stood up from the blood lotus. He was just like the overlord of the world as he looked down at the experts of the Yin clan opposite him. That voice that contained an endless bloody scent reverberated within the flame world. Even the members of the Hun clan behind him had pale expressions. All of them instinctively trembled. Has clan leader really broken through to that legendary level? If that is the case, how can we stop them? Won't this Hun clan really become the unshakable overlord of the continent? The group of experts from the Yin clan were startled as they looked at Hun Tiandi. They sensed the incomparably frightening aura of the other party. All of their expressions were extremely grave. You have yet to truly step into the D state, right? Currently, you have only taken half a step into it. You are only a bandy. Yin Jin frowned. He stared at Hun Tiandi and coldly said, "So what? Once I enter the ancient god mansion and swallow the D pill, I will be the only true Do-Di in thousands of years." A blood glow surged within Hun Tiandi's eyes. He extended his hand and suddenly clenched it towards the experts from the Yin clan from a distance. "Since we are both from the ancient clan, I shall now let you witness the strength of the D state." The dense, cold voice had just sounded when the blood rain in the sky suddenly agglomerated. It turned into an extremely thin bloodline that cut across the sky with lightning-like speed. Wherever the line of blood passed, the void was directly cut apart. 100,000 feet large black hole suddenly appeared in the sky above the experts from the Yin clan. Once all of you are destroyed, the Sure clan will be the next. After today, only my Hun clan will be left among the 8 ancient clans. The 100,000 feet large black hole in the sky was suppressed by Hun Tiandi's icy cold voice. The expressions of the experts from the Yin clan became extremely gloomy as they looked at the huge black hole that was emitting a strange rumbling sound. The energy ripple from the black hole caused them to tremble. "Everyone, attack together." Yin Jin frowned. A 10,000 feet large fire giant wrapped around him after a stern cry sounded. The fire giant clenched its fist and threw it at the huge black hole under his control. Led by the red-haired old man, the other experts from the Yin clan cried out at the same time. Their cries shook the sky. Soon after, monstrous Do-Chi surged out from within their bodies. They attacked the 100,000 feet large black hole in the sky at the same time. Bang! The fiercely burning fire fist of the fire giant that Yin Jin had summoned had just struck the 100,000 feet large black hole when it was torn apart by the energy storm that surged out from the latter. The next moment, the fire giant collapsed under the energy storm in front of countless pairs of shocked eyes. "Go and send a signal to the other 6 clans. You must inform the Gu clan and ask Boss Chu for help." The red-haired old man immediately gave an order to a 2-star Dosheng from the Yin clan. Chapter 174. In the Flame World, countless experts of the Flame World looked at the sky in horror. Far above, all the attacks, including those of their clan leader, were useless against the 100,000 zhang large black hole. That enormous black hole continued to press down on them. As it got closer, they felt that the Do-Chi gushing out of their bodies was being suppressed. Their breathing became hurried. Bang! Following a loud, muffled sound, the faces of all the experts of the Yin clan turned pale. Their bodies trembled violently, after which they spat out a mouthful of blood uncontrollably. He has yet to truly become a martial emperor, but a half-martial emperor is already so terrifying. The experts of the Yin clan suppressed the churning blood in their chests. They once again raised their heads to look at the 100,000 zhang large black hole that was slowly pressing down. Fear surged in their eyes. The red-haired old man frowned tightly. His expression became increasingly ugly. He had seen a battle between Do Di in the image projected by the Bodhisattva ancient tree. However, it was only an image after all. He was unable to truly feel the terror of a Do Di. As for the Do Di remnant consciousness, it was exorcised by Chu Bei's 6 words great bright incantation the moment it unleashed its monstrous attack. The martial emperor realm is not something that ants like you can contend against with just numbers. Hun Tiandi laughed coldly in the sky. His voice was filled with dense ridicule. His gaze swept across Yin Jin, the red-haired old man, and the others. It was filled with disdain. What an enviable realm! The Hun clan's 3 elders and 4 demon saints looked at Hun Tiandi with admiration. Even though all the experts of the Yin clan had joined forces, they were unable to block the 100,000 zhang large black hole that Hun Tiandi had created. Have you asked the other 5 clans for help? Yin Jin looked at the red-haired old man and said, Yes. The red-haired old man nodded. Since that is the case, let's wait for the other 6 clans to reinforce us. Yin Jin shifted his gaze away from the red-haired old man, after which he swept his gaze across all the experts of the Yin clan on the battlefield and shouted, Activate the Guardian clan formation. As Yin Jin's voice sounded, all the experts of the Yin clan, including himself, formed the same seal with their hands. At the same time, bright red blood droplets seeped out from the bodies of the experts of the Yin clan and gathered in the sky. Buzz buzz, these blood droplets swiftly spread and gradually formed a huge net that enveloped the entire Yin clan. The earth rumbled as the boundless energy within the Flame clan's territory began to attach itself to the giant net. A moment later, a spherical blood-colored formation enveloped the countless Flame race experts, isolating them from the outside world. It's just a meaningless struggle. Hun Tiandi let out a cold snort. He pressed his right hand downwards, and the 100,000 feet large black hole descended at a slightly faster speed. Rumble. When the black hole slammed into the blood-red formation, the latter trembled violently and rippled. A part of the formation even caved in. After the attack, the black hole slowly rose up and then fell down again. Another loud sound rang out, and a crack appeared on the blood-red array. Fortunately, the moment the crack appeared, it was quickly repaired by the Yin clan experts below. Patriarch, this will consume too much of our energy. This cannot continue. A 3-star Do Shang revealed a worried expression. No matter what, we must hold on until the other 6 races arrive. Yin Jin's expression was heavy as he looked at the black hole that was continuously smashing down, rising, and smashing down again. Ancient world. Within the large hall, Gu Yuan, Gu Shan, and the other elders of the clan were staring intently at the rotating circular plate in front of them. When they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that Boss Chu was just as the rumors said. He had everything but money. Moreover, the rules were not alive. There was a limit to the daily sales. Once the limit was reached, the business would be closed. One could say that he treated money like dirt and would not be able to rotate the plate if he did not have a single cent. One could also say that he was greedy for money and would not be able to do anything even if he begged again and again after reaching the sales limit. Host has reached the limit of sales for today. After the elders of the Gu clan transferred another 100 million, the system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's mind. Let's end it here for today. Chu Bei kept the rotating plate. Hearing this, the elders of the Gu clan sighed again and again. This time around, he had spent a total of 1.2 billion. Although he did not obtain a single Do Sheng pill, he had obtained some valuable treasures. For example, the armor that could defend against the attack of a 5-star Do Sheng. As for Chu Bei, he had obtained 6 million wish points. Clan leader, the Yin clan has sent news that they have been invaded by the Hun clan. Currently, they are in grave danger, and they have requested for our help. At this moment, an elder of the Gu clan appeared in the hall and hurriedly informed Gu Yuan about the news he had received. He has already stepped into the half-martial emperor realm? Gu Yuan and the other elders in the hall frowned after hearing the elder's words. Clan leader, should we lend a hand? Gu Shan looked at Gu Yuan. Since Hun Tiandi has already stepped into the half-martial emperor realm, he naturally desires to take the final step. He must have attacked the Yin clan for the two Shi ancient gods jade in the hands of the Yin clan. Once the Yin clan is destroyed, it will be the next clan. Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes. His expression was grave. Our Gu clan cannot stay out of this. However, Hun Tiandi has already become a half-martial emperor. Clan leader, are you still a match for him? Gu Shan's expression was grave. Gu Yuan was silent. Then, he looked at Chu Bei. Boss Chu, what the Hun clan has done has made them the common enemy of all clans. Since you have already destroyed the Hun Hall, I hope that you can attack again. Chu Bei did not immediately reply to Gu Yuan's pleading gaze. Previously, he had only dealt with the Hun Hall for the reputation gift pack. However, Hun Tiandi had already become a half-martial emperor. Even if he wanted to kill him completely, he could only use the level 11 commodity usage rights. What made him hesitate was that saving the Yin clan and exterminating the Hun clan did not bring him any benefits. Boss Chu, this concerns the survival of all clans. If Hun Tiandi really becomes an emperor, it will be the nightmare of the entire continent. Gu Shan also pleaded, let's go and take a look first. Chu Bei sighed. Almost at the same time, the Yao clan, Shi clan, Ling clan, and Lei clan received the Yin clan's distress signal. Like the Gu clan, they knew that they were on the same boat as the Yin clan. Without any hesitation, they went all out to support them. When the Gu clan group arrived at the void where the flame world was, the other four clans had also arrived. The leader of the Yao clan was Yao Dan, clan leader of the Yao clan, 8-star Do Sheng. The leader of the Shi clan was Shi Tian, clan leader of the Shi clan, 8-star Do Sheng. The leader of the Lei clan was Lei Ying, clan leader of the Lei clan, 8-star Do Sheng. The leader of the Ling clan was Ling Hao, clan leader of the Ling clan, 8-star Do Sheng. Brother Gu, this must be Boss Chu. After the four clan leaders greeted Gu Yuan, they all looked at Chu Bei with friendly expressions. Chu Bei nodded in response to the four clan leaders. The Yin clan is in danger. I wonder how they are doing now. Let's go in and help. Gu Yuan spoke as he looked at the Yin clan's boundary that was shaking and breaking. At the same time, in the flame world, rumble. As the black hole in the sky continued to collide, the tribe-protecting formation that the experts of the Yin clan had created together was already filled with cracks. Pucci. The black hole once again smashed downwards. Finally, Yin Jin, who was the core of the formation, spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His expression turned extremely pale. It was as though he had suffered a heavy blow. Clan leader. The experts of the Yin clan, including the red-haired old man, cried out. However, before they could fly towards Yin Jin to check on his injuries, the Blood Tribe's formation, which was already on the verge of breaking, exploded with a bang. At this moment, all the experts of the Yin clan seemed to have suffered a backlash from the blood-colored formation. Just like Yin Jin, they spat out fresh blood from their mouths. Their auras fell to rock bottom. Yin Jin, this D will say it one last time. Hand over the two Shi ancient gods jade. Hun Tiandi coldly looked at Yin Jin. While he spoke, the 100,000 feet large black hole was suspended less than 100 meters above the experts of the Yin clan. Do you really think that you will let my clan off if I give you the two Shi ancient gods jade? Given the way your Hun clan does things, you will still kill us all even if I give you the ancient gods jade. Yin Jin wiped off the fresh blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes looked directly at Hun Tiandi without the slightest fear. Therefore, you are unwilling to hand it over? Hun Tiandi's eyes hardened. A chill surged within his eyes. No. Yin Jin spoke in a decisive manner. Forget it. In that case, I will search for it myself after I have destroyed all of you. Black fog churned within the 100,000 feet, large black hole after cold in the forest's voice sounded. The frightening aura within it once again soared to another level. Soon after, Hun Tiandi pressed his right hand downwards. The 100,000 feet large black hole once again smashed towards the experts of the Yin clan below. Buzz buzz, however, just as the experts of the Yin clan were looking at the 100,000 feet large black hole that was pressing down unwillingly and preparing to welcome death, a rumbling sound resounded in the sky. In the next moment, A square-shaped gap suddenly appeared below the 100,000 feet large black hole. A fiercely burning seven-colored sea of fire surged out from the square-shaped gap in front of countless pairs of stunned eyes. These seven-colored sea of fire surged towards the 100,000 feet large black hole and forcefully stopped the 100,000 feet large black hole from continuing to press downwards. Who is it? Hun Tiandi's eyes hardened when he saw that his attack had been intercepted. A stunned expression flashed across his eyes. However, before anyone could answer his question, a purple-gold-red gourd appeared within the seven-colored sea of fire. The mouth of the gourd was facing the 100,000 feet large black hole. Chi. One could see a red light beam being spat out from the mouth of the gourd. It directly struck the middle of the 100,000 feet large black hole. In the next moment, the soul-stirring black light of the 100,000 feet large black hole was wildly sucked into the purple-gold-red gourd. Its body was also shrinking at a frightening speed. 100,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 1,000 feet. Within a couple of breaths' time, the black hole that was pressing down from the sky, causing the experts of the Yin clan to be unable to breathe, had disappeared. What is the matter with that red gourd? Clan chief's attack was actually swallowed by it. The experts from the Hun clan, including the 3 Grand Elders and 4 Demon Saints, were all stunned as they looked at the purple-gold-red gourd within the seven-colored sea of fire in the sky. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Could it be that the other 5 clans have already hurried over? The person who intervened is the clan chief of the Gu clan, Gu Yuan. Moreover, he is hiding in the dark. An elite Dosheng from the Hun clan guessed. In the entire Do-Chi continent, the only person who could contend with their clan chief was the clan chief of the Gu clan, Gu Yuan. Perhaps Gu Yuan has also successfully broken through like clan chief and stepped into the half-D class. However, I have never heard of Gu Yuan possessing such a red gourd. Moreover, that seven-colored sea of fire is not simple. It actually possesses the aura of 7 types of heavenly flames. I can even sense the aura of Lord Tua Yin from it. Ripples appeared in the sky, while the experts from the Hun clan were discussing as they looked at the 7-colored sea of fire and the purple-gold-red gourd. Soon after, a black mass of figures appeared from the ripples. The eyes of the experts from the Hun clan suddenly shrunk as they looked at the thousands of figures that had suddenly appeared. Gu clan, Yao clan, Lei clan, Yin clan, and Shi clan. The experts from the Hun clan exclaimed after recognizing the robes worn by the 5 clans' army. Brother Gu, Brother Yao, thank you for coming to help. The experts from the Yin clan looked at Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the rest with incomparable gratitude. If the other party had not arrived, it was likely that their Yin clan would have been seriously injured by the 100,000 feet large black hole earlier. Brother Yin, we do not have the ability to help you. The one who intervened earlier was Boss Chu. If you want to thank someone, it is enough to thank him alone. Yao Dan threw a purple-colored elixir pill that emitted a dense medicinal pill to Yin Jin as he spoke. Swallow it first and recuperate. Yin Jin was initially stunned when he saw the elixir pill that Yao Dan had thrown over. Subsequently, he revealed a grateful expression. After swallowing the elixir, Yin Jin's eyes swept over the people at the front of the 5 clans' army. Finally, his eyes paused on Chu Bei. Thank you, Boss Chu, for your help. The reason why he had recognized Chu Bei at a glance was firstly because the other party was in the middle of Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the rest. Secondly, although the other party did not have the slightest Do-Chi fluctuation, he gave one a feeling that it was difficult to see through him. This was especially so when the mental strength that Yin Jin had subconsciously sent out had mysteriously disappeared from the other party's body. The 5 clans are really bold. You actually dare to intervene in the matter between my Hun clan and the Yin clan. Looking at your formation, are you planning to join forces to deal with my Hun clan? The 4 demon saints of the Hun clan stared intently at Yao Dan, Shi Tian, and the rest at the same time as they cried out coldly. What a joke. If we were to ignore this matter, your Hun clan's next target would be one of us. Yao Dan's eyes hardened. An intense fury surged onto his face. Compared to the 4 demon saints, Hun Tiandi did not bother about Yao Dan, Shi Tian, and the rest. His eyes first swept across Gu Yuan before landing on Chu Bei. You are that boss Chu who destroyed my Hall of Souls? The deaths of Hun Chinamo and Hun Huzi, as well as the disappearance of the Nihility-devouring flame, are all related to you, right? Hun Tiandi pointed at the blazing seven-colored sea of fire. He could sense the aura of the Nihility-devouring flame from it. What? He is that boss Chu. Even Lord Devouring Flame was defeated in his hands. He was the one who blocked the clan leader's attack earlier. In that case, does it not mean that he is at least at the peak of the 9-star Doshang class? Moreover, he has also stepped into the Banshang class like the clan leader. He has followed the 5 clans here this time around. It is definitely because he wants to become enemies with my clan. The hearts of the experts from the Hun clan trembled upon hearing Hun Tiandi's words. Their eyes were filled with shock when they looked at Chu Bei again. Chu Bei's expression was calm when he met Hun Tiandi's questioning eyes. He did not reply. He merely waved his sleeve, and the 7-colored sea of fire once again entered his body. The purple-gold-red gourd appeared in his hand. Hun Tiandi involuntarily frowned when he saw Chu Bei's indifferent expression towards him. Other than the fact that the other party had ignored him, there was another more important reason that caused him to frown. Even with his current Band D strength, he was still unable to see through the other party's cultivation. Chapter 175. As for who I am, don't you already have the answer? Chu Bei stood in the sky with his hands behind his back. He glanced indifferently at Hun Tiandi. His calm voice resounded like rolling thunder across the world and shook everyone's soul. You have repeatedly targeted my Hun clan. I have yet to look for you, but you have followed the 5 clans to deal with my Hun clan. Hun Tiandi's expression was gloomy to the extreme. His words were filled with sharp murderous intent. You actually call yourself an emperor? Haha, you are merely an ant. You actually dare to call yourself an emperor. Chu Bei looked at Hun Tiandi with disdain. Even the so-called true Do Di from the ancient era was merely a cultivator who was slightly stronger than a Do Sheng. The likes of you are far from being able to come into contact with a true emperor. A calm voice that was filled with supreme might was emitted from Chu Bei's mouth. It reverberated across the world for a long time and shook the hearts of everyone present. Hun Tiandi was initially stunned. After he recovered, only the word ant remained in his mind. Immediately, his expression became distorted. His entire body was filled with a bloody aura. I am already a half-emperor, the strongest expert on this continent. Yet, you say that I am an ant. Then, what are they? Hun Tiandi's scarlet eyes stared at Chu Bei. At the same time, he extended his hand and pointed at Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others. His tone was filled with rich ridicule. From your point of view, a Do Di is already the peak of the cultivation path. However, your horizons are too low. If there comes a day when you are able to walk out of this Do Chi continent, you will discover that the so-called Do Di is merely an ant-like existence in the eyes of a true, strong person. Chu Bei looked at Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others. Clearly, these words of his were meant for them to hear. A bunch of nonsense. Before Gu Yuan and the others could reply, Hun Tiandi let out a cold snort. After which, he waved his right hand. A ray of blood light spluttered out from his palm. Soon after, the sky suddenly rumbled. A majestic rain of blood fell. The entire flame world had turned scarlet. Countless light spots surged out from the void of the flame world and poured into Hun Tiandi's body at almost the same time. He was absorbing the power of the world. Arrogant brat, die. Hun Tiandi's aura became increasingly frightening. He gently lifted his right hand. After which, he aimed it at the blood cloud that permeated the entire Hun realm. A dense, ferocious expression slowly surfaced on the corner of his mouth as he suddenly waved his hand. Rumble. The thick blood cloud suddenly churned wildly after Hun Tiandi waved his hand downwards. A wild and violent energy that caused one's head to turn numb swiftly gathered within it. In the blink of an eye, a blood-red lightning axe appeared in the blood cloud. The moment the blood-red lightning axe, which was filled with the power to destroy the world, appeared, it slashed towards Chu Bei with the power to destroy the world. In an instant, the vast flame world shook and the mountain ranges exploded. The sound of rolling blood and thunder filled the air. Even people as strong as Yao Dan, Yin Jin, and the others felt their hearts tremble. This time, I've really become a good person, the indifferent water-like calm voice sounded. Chu Bei threw the purple gold red gourd in his hand in front of countless pairs of eyes. The moment the purple gold red gourd left Chu Bei's hand, it instantly became 100 times larger. It faced the blood-red axe that was hacking downwards. Bang! A soul-stirring loud sound appeared. The moment the two collided, the blood-red axe with a frightening momentum was directly destroyed by the energy ripple emitted by the purple gold red gourd. It turned into light that permeated the sky. In the next moment, the purple gold red gourd appeared above Hun Tiandi in a ghost-like fashion. The mouth of the gourd faced downwards and trembled slightly. Immediately, the world shook. Endless red light swiftly gathered at the mouth of the gourd. Finally, it turned into a ray of light that directly rushed towards Hun Tiandi. A sense of danger rose within Hun Tiandi's heart for some unknown reason after sensing the frightening aura within the red light ray. The Do Chi within his body hurriedly whistled. However, he was just about to maneuver the natural energy to defend himself when a ripple was emitted from the purple gold red gourd above his head. Hun Tiandi was shocked to discover that he had actually lost his connection with the natural energy when this ripple spread over his body. How is this possible? Other than disbelief, Hun Tiandi's face was also filled with horror after sensing this unusual change. The reason why a Bandi was far above the peak of the Doshang class was not only because their Do Chi was more powerful. More importantly, it was because the former was able to maneuver the natural energy much easier than the latter. The D class could easily maneuver the natural energy for their own use. It could be used to attack or defend. However, the ripple that was emitted from the purple gold red gourd had actually erased his ability to maneuver the natural energy. In this way, it was no different from cutting off the greatest difference between him and the peak of the Doshang class. Soul Extermination Finger. Although Hun Tiandi was shocked, the red light ray that was emitted from the mouth of the gourd arrived in an instant. He immediately unleashed his Do Chi to the limit after sensing that he was unable to maneuver the natural energy. Soon after, a low cry sounded. Monstrous Do Chi accompanied by tens of millions of souls agglomerated into a huge finger. The finger was covered with strange lines as it ruthlessly received the red light ray. Bang! The red light ray and the substance-like huge finger collided in the empty space. A deafening ear-shaking sound was emitted. The huge finger collapsed and was destroyed in front of everyone's eyes. The red light ray's momentum did not decrease. It penetrated through the empty space and ruthlessly smashed onto Hun Tiandi's body. Grug! Hun Tiandi spat out a mouthful of fresh blood after being struck by the red light ray. His body also smashed into the empty space under the frightening red light ray. It turned a mountain range below into a sunken abyss. The three elders of the Hun clan, the four demon saints, and the other experts were initially stunned after witnessing this scene. Subsequently, a gloomy expression surged into their eyes. Clan leader has been defeated. No, impossible. He has already stepped into the D class. The experts from the Hun clan looked at each other after recovering. Clearly, they were unable to accept the scene in front of them. That D class expert, who was above the world and could maneuver the natural energy, was actually so easily defeated by a red gourd. Hun Tiandi was the faith of the experts from the Hun clan. They were unable to accept that a small red gourd could defeat their faith. What exactly is going on with that gourd? It belongs to Boss Chu. D class. Could it be that this Boss Chu has truly stepped into the D class and become a Do D? The four demon saints of the Hun clan exchanged glances with each other. They involuntarily threw their eyes towards Chu Bei. Their hearts were greatly shocked and their eyes were filled with a rich fear. Who else other than a genuine Do Di could casually defeat Hun Tiandi, who had already become a Bandi? Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others also had stunned faces as they looked at Chu Bei. Although they were aware that Chu Bei was very strong and had even guessed that the other party was a genuine Do Di, a great storm still rose within their hearts after witnessing the scene earlier. They did not expect that a mere red gourd thrown out by the other party would be able to easily defeat Hun Tiandi, who had already become a Bandi. A large amount of blood-red fog surged out from the deep abyss below while the discussion in the sky sounded. The fog churned and once again transformed into Hun Tiandi's appearance in front of the Hun clan's army. At this moment, Hun Tiandi no longer possessed the insufferably arrogant demeanor from before. His entire body stood in the air and faced Chu Bei from a great distance. He maintained his distance. "You are a Dodi." Hun Tiandi's eyes looked directly at Chu Bei. His eyes were filled with fear. Although he had not exchanged blows with the other party earlier, he had deeply experienced just how frightening the red gourd thrown out by the other party was. The light beam that shot out from the red gourd caused him to feel terrified. This difference in strength was just like when he was dealing with an ordinary Doshang. It caused him to feel helpless. He is indeed an elite Dodi. The three great elders of the Hun clan exchanged glances with each other. Clearly, Hun Tiandi's words had confirmed their guess. This boss Chu, who they had never heard of until recently, was really an existence that had not appeared in the Doqi continent for thousands of years. Currently, he only existed in legends. An elite Dodi. I have already said earlier that a Dodi is merely an ant in the eyes of a true expert. Chu Bei spoke in a faint voice. His voice that was filled with dignity spread over the entire place. "Moreover, I am not an ant." If Chu Bei had said these words earlier, the experts from the Hun clan, including Hun Tiandi, would definitely feel disdain. They would think that the other party was spouting nonsense. But at that moment, they caught another hidden meaning. The other party's cultivation was above that of a Dodi. Regardless of who you are, why do you want to go against my Hun clan? Could it be that my Hun clan has offended you? Hun Tiandi's expression was grave. No. Chu Bei shook his head. Then why? Hun Tiandi questioned. To promote justice and eliminate evil. Chu Bei's body was filled with a righteous aura. Justice? Hun Tiandi pulled the corner of his mouth in the face of Chu Bei's reply. Perhaps it was because this reason was too unreasonable. He was so angry that his body involuntarily trembled. From the way he saw it, in order for the other party to become a Dodi or an existence that had surpassed a Dodi, the blood on the other party's hands would definitely not be inferior to his. What was laughable was that the other party still spoke of justice and used it to suppress his Hun clan. There is not much time left for me. Chu Bei shook his head and sighed. The not much time that he mentioned was naturally referring to the level 11 product that he had exchanged for, the purple gold red gourd. It was something that the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord had plucked from the celestial vine and refined over countless days and months. Chu Bei only had 1 hour to use it. Chu Bei's sigh sounded. A ray of light shot from his fingertip into the purple gold red gourd in the distance. Immediately, a thunderous sound was emitted from the purple gold red gourd. A large amount of purple gold and red light was emitted from the mouth of the gourd. These light rays swiftly transformed into 100,000 feet wide blade. It instantly cut through the void and appeared in the sky above the Hun clan army. The expressions of the experts from the Hun clan, including the 3 grand elders and 4 demon saints, changed as they looked at the 100,000 feet wide blade above their heads. Horror surged from between their brows. The aura that was emitted from the blade caused them to sense that death was approaching. Members of the Hun clan, listen up. Use your blood as the contract and use your soul to form the formation. Hun Tiandi's expression was gloomy. His body rose into the air and suddenly cried out. He knew that it was impossible for him to block the 100,000 feet wide blade formed by the red gourd alone. He could only gather the strength of the entire clan. Chapter 176. Countless experts from the Hun clan on the battlefield extended their fingers after hearing Hun Tiandi's cry. Fresh blood flowed from their fingers as they drew a strange symbol in the air. Regardless of whether it was the 3 elders, the 4 demon saints, or the other experts from the Hun clan, they cried out in unison. Their cries shook the sky. Monstrous Doqi surged out from within their bodies. That momentum even scattered the blood cloud that covered the sky. Gradually, all the souls in their bodies flew out and intertwined with those strange runes. Hundi Mirror. Hun Tiandi's body was suspended in the middle of the vast and endless Doqi. His hand seals changed and Dochi agglomerated and evolved. Finally, it formed 100,000 feet large ancient energy mirror above his head. The 100,000 feet ancient mirror immediately emitted a frightening destructive ripple after gathering the Dochi of all the experts from the Hun clan, including Hun Tiendi. Hun Tiendi was not the only one. Everyone from the Hun clan was aware that this collision would decide the outcome of the battle. They would either join forces to kill this so-called elite Do-Di boss Chu in front of them, or the Hun clan would be exterminated. All the members of the Hun clan unleashed their strongest attacks. They did not hesitate to use their essence blood to create a formation. Using the formation as a mirror, Hun Tiendi cried out sternly once again. In the next moment, the formation, which had gathered the essence blood and spirit of countless experts from the Hun clan, surged into the 100,000 feet large ancient energy mirror. The might of the mirror became increasingly frightening after the formation entered the ancient energy mirror. Its originally frightening aura once again rose to another level. Rumble, in the end, Hun Tiendi's expression became pale. One could see the energy light mirror trembling intensely. 100,000 feet large light pillar suddenly shot out from the surface of the mirror. Even the air was blasted into nothingness wherever the light pillar passed. The 100,000 feet large light pillar penetrated the empty space. It seemed to have penetrated the entire sky and could be clearly seen by the entire central plains. Quickly look. What is this unusual natural phenomenon? This aura. Could it be that an elite Do-Di from ancient times has appeared? Or perhaps a peak expert has successfully broken through to this level? Quickly look. It is not only that blood-colored light pillar. There is also that purple gold red broadsword. Could it be that an elite Do-Di is fighting in that realm? To be able to use such a technique, who in the entire continent would be able to do it? Ancient magical beast or the 8 ancient clans? At this moment, everyone from the central plains and the surrounding major forces raised their heads to look at the soul-stirring beam of light and the purple gold and red broadsword in the distance. Their hearts were all in their throats. In the east of Zhongzhou, this was a simple-looking 9-story pagoda. The pagoda had 8 corners, and each corner was formed by 3 intertwining divine dragons. Just by looking at it, one would feel a sense of grandeur. On the 9th floor, Xian Kongzi, Xian Yi, and Tian Lazy, the 3 giants of the Pill Tower, walked to the window and looked at the sky in a daze. What level of battle is that energy fluctuation? Xian Kongzi glanced at Xian Yi and Tian Lazy as he muttered to himself. The continent is going to be shaken. Xian Yi and young master Tian Lazy exchanged glances. Burning Flame Valley. In the valley, all the disciples looked up at the sky in shock. In front of them, Tang Zhun and the elders of the valley stood side by side. With such a huge commotion, who exactly is fighting? It seems that our understanding of the continent is still too little. I'm afraid that there are many hidden experts like Boss Chu on the continent. Tang Zhun and the others looked at the sky in a daze as they muttered to themselves. In the south of the Central Plains, it was a dreamlike fairyland. This place was filled with divine energy. The mountains were green, the valleys were green, the waterfalls were flowing, the cranes were dancing, and the apes were jumping happily. On each mountain peak, the jade palaces were connected. It was like a poem or a painting, intoxicating. On the huge square, hundreds and thousands of white figures looked up at the sky. At a closer look, these figures were all women. Sect Master, what level of battle is that? A disciple looked at the beautiful woman in white beside him. His eyes were filled with confusion. I don't dare to imagine. The beautiful woman in white shook her head. Even she felt suffocated by the aura from the vast battlefield. At this moment, all the major forces in the Central Plains were focused on the shattered void of the flame world. On the battlefield, Hun Tiendi stood on the blood-colored lotus with a gloomy expression. His blood-colored eyes stared at the 100,000 feet large light pillar. His fingers suddenly pointed. Hun Clan, life or death, will be decided by this battle. Hun Tiendi's voice reverberated across the sky and spread across the entire Central Plains. Following Hun Tiendi's cry, the 100,000 feet large light pillar, which was roaring like a furious dragon, charged into the sky with a world-destroying might. In the face of absolute strength, everything you have done is merely a meaningless struggle. Chu Bei was expressionless. His indifferent voice was emitted from his mouth. The 100,000 feet wide blade, which was formed by the two-colored light from the purple-gold-red gourd, hacked at the 100,000 feet large light pillar at a steady pace. There was no earth-shaking loud sound that they had expected, nor was there any energy fluctuation that stirred up the clouds. However, under this unusual calmness, the incomparably frightening 100,000 feet large light pillar collapsed inch by inch in front of the countless stunned gazes present. Finally, it turned into light spots that filled the sky and disappeared into nothingness. This is a battle whose ending has been decided since the beginning. Chu Bei looked down at Hun Tiandi and the members of the Hun clan, whose faces were completely pale, from above. His voice was calm. His indifferent voice drifted across the empty space. The 100,000 feet wide blade, which had easily destroyed the Hun Emperor mirror, which was formed by gathering the essence, blood, and souls of all the experts of the Hun clan, continued to hack downwards. In the end, the Hun clan has died in my hands. If I had truly stepped into the DD stage, would I be able to fight against you? Hun Tiandi's eyes were empty and lifeless. His originally jet-black long hair was instantly replaced by white. His body swayed as he muttered to himself. He was just like an old man past his prime. That pair of sunken blood-red eyes were filled with a strong sense of unwillingness. The 100,000 feet wide blade hacked down from the sky and landed on all the experts of the Hun clan, led by Hun Tiandi. In an instant, the entire world became quiet. The 100,000 feet wide blade had disappeared from the battlefield. Chu Bei waved his right hand. The purple-gold-red gourd's mouth lit up with a circle of light. It wildly absorbed the remaining shockwaves from the battlefield. Hun Tiandi and all the experts of the Hun clan had disappeared when the battlefield became clear again. Only Chu Bei alone and the purple-gold-red gourd, which had returned to his side, were left behind. It's over. The Hun clan has been completely destroyed. In the future, the Hun clan will no longer exist among the 8 ancient clans. Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest of the experts from the 5 clans widened their mouths as they watched Hun Tiandi and the Hun clan's army disappear from the battlefield. Their expressions were so shocked that it seemed as though they had been frozen. A long while later, the experts from the 6 clans, who had witnessed this scene, gradually recovered from their shock. All of them involuntarily swallowed their saliva as they looked at the figure above, who was stepping on the empty space like an emperor. They were at a loss and felt as though they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies were numb. That figure had actually destroyed the strongest ancient clan, the Hun clan, by himself. The Hun clan no longer exists on the continent. Chu Bei's indifferent eyes swept over the empty space. His lips moved slightly. A powerful thunder-like voice that carried a supreme might spread across the empty space. It spread across every small world and the central plains. Did you hear that voice? Who is it? Who is the one who spoke? This voice seems to have sounded from within one's mind. It is impossible to identify the direction of the voice's origin. The Hun clan no longer exists on the continent. What clan is the Hun clan? Why have I never heard of it? Is this real or fake? The Hun clan is the strongest among the 8 ancient clans. Chu Bei's voice reverberated over the entire Central Plains for a long time. Almost at the same time, the people from every corner of the Central Plains began to gather in 2s and 3s. They were intensely discussing this sudden news. The bodies of the top factions within the Central Plains trembled violently upon hearing this familiar voice. Even the leaders of the factions, Dozuns and elite Doshangs, trembled violently. Clearly, they had already recognized this somewhat familiar voice. So it is Boss Chu-ha. Not only did he destroy the Hall of Souls, but he has also destroyed the Hun clan behind him. A hoarse voice sounded from within the Pill Tower. The person who had spoken was not Xin Kongzi's group. However, his aura was far more powerful than theirs. On the battlefield, Brother Gu, once Boss Chu intervenes, there is nothing for us to do. Gu Yuan, Lei Ying, Shitian and Ling Hao looked at each other and smiled awkwardly after hearing Yao Dan's words. Their smiles contained some embarrassment. Before they came, they had gathered the strongest people in their clans. They were prepared to work together in a grand manner. Who would have expected that they had become mere spectators throughout the entire process? Boss Chu had directly used his own strength to destroy all the experts from the Hun clan, including Hun Tiendi. From the beginning until the end, the 5 clans had not been of any use. They had merely acted as spectators. This caused them to feel a little ashamed. Boss Chu, you are the benefactor of my entire Yin clan. If you had not appeared in time, my Yin clan would have been completely exterminated. Yin Jin bowed towards Chu Bei after speaking until this point, after which he beckoned with his right hand, and a crystal-clear jade pendant appeared in his palm. He continued, "This is the 2 Shi ancient gods jade that Hun Tianyi wants. Boss Chu, please accept it." "Do you think that it is very important to me?" Chu Bei's words carried a smile. A 2 Shi ancient gods jade also appeared in his palm. This was something that he had obtained from Hun Tiendi when he had just killed him. "That's true. Boss Chu, you are already a Do Di. This jade does not have much use to you." Yin Jin understood. "However, if all of you are interested, you can bring your jade pendants with you and open the 2 Shi ancient god mansion together." Chu Bei's eyes swept over the 6 clan heads and Xiao Yin. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest exchanged glances with each other after hearing Chu Bei's words. Their expressions were eager to give it a try. Each clan possessed a 2 Shi ancient gods jade. However, they needed to gather 8 ancient god jades in order to open the ancient god mansion. Moreover, these 8 clans knew that the ancient gods jade was related to the opportunity to become a DD. Hence, it was extremely important to them. Hence, it was almost impossible for these 8 ancient gods jades to fall into the hands of a single faction. Even the Hun clan, which wanted to monopolize everything, was unable to do so. Finally, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest exchanged glances and reached a consensus. Chapter 177. The next day. This was the most tense day since the establishment of the inner court of Canaan. In the middle of the sunken valley of the inner court, an extremely large black tower was buried deep underground. Only the tip of the tower and a pitch-black entrance were exposed above the ground. Above the black tower, several experts who had broken through the void were floating. Their gazes were all on the black tower below. "Weisstein, what's going on with our Canaan College recently? A few days ago, the overlords of the magical beasts, the ancient void dragons, came to our inner court. Moreover, I haven't seen them come up from the bottom of the blazing sky chi refining tower. Why have so many unfamiliar experts appeared today? Looking at their auras, they seem to be very powerful." The person who spoke was a green-clothed girl who was about 24 or 25 years old. Her beautiful eyes were staring at the increasing number of people in the square in front of her. Her charming face was filled with surprise and confusion. It was Instructor Noreen. "They're not just powerful. They can simply be described as terrifying. Any one of them is far stronger than me." Hu Gan's bronze face was filled with shock because of the appearance of countless experts above. Even the dean is respectful to this group of people. Looks like their background is not small. An elder looked at Mang Qianqi, who was passionately receiving the experts above and sighed. "Why have so many experts appeared in our inner court together? And what exactly is at the bottom of the tower with that group of ancient void dragons?" Ruo Lin's gaze shifted away from the countless experts above and looked at the chi refining tower behind her. She was even more confused. According to the leader of the ancient void dragons, their dragon emperor is trapped under the lava at the bottom of the tower. But I really don't understand. Who can trap such an existence? Hu Gan was also puzzled. High up in the sky, the dozens of experts who had broken through the void could be roughly divided into 6 forces according to their robes. The faint aura emitted by the leader of each force made them tremble in fear. "Old man Hu, look quickly. It's Boss Chu." Just as everyone was discussing, Su Qian suddenly cried out in surprise. In front of the 6 forces above, several figures appeared. The person in the middle was Boss Chu, who had saved the inner court from danger previously. Could it be that these people were brought here by Boss Chu? Hu Gan muttered to himself. High up in the sky, Mang Qianqi, the dean of Canaan College, quickly stepped forward with a respectful expression when he saw the middle-aged man beside Chu Bei. "Greetings, Patriarch." Mang Qianqi bowed to Lei Ying. Lei Ying nodded at Mang Qianqi and looked at Chu Bei. "Boss Chu, everyone is here. Can we go down now?" Chu Bei's gaze swept past Gu Yuan, Yin Jin, and the others before he gave a light reply before his figure vanished. Seeing this, Gu Yuan, Lei Ying, and the others followed closely behind. In an instant, Chu Bei and the others arrived at the magma below the Qi refining tower. Who would have thought that there would be such a space under the magma? Yao Dan sighed. Perhaps it was because they had arrived at the source of the magma, but the red magma had already turned dark red. Right in front of them was an incomparably huge ball of light. In the ball of light was a stone door that was hundreds of thousands of feet tall. There were already several figures in front of the stone door. "Boss Chu." As soon as Chu Bei and the others arrived, Ziyin, Qing Shan, and the other ancient void dragons looked over. When they saw the appearance of the people who had come, Ziyin, especially, was excited. "Boss Chu, is the Dragon Emperor really inside? We have tried many methods, but we can't open this stone door at all." Qing Shan immediately stepped forward. "Don't worry, you will see him soon," Chu Bei said faintly. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked ahead. The stone door stood silently in the vast space, as if it had existed for eternity. An ancient and desolate aura lingered around it, rippling through the miniature world. Standing in front of the magnificent stone door, strong people like Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Ancient God Cave Mansion. Everyone's eyes swept across the stone door and finally stopped at the 4 ancient words at the top of the stone door. Looking at the 4 soul-stirring words, everyone's eyes suddenly shrank and their hearts started to beat violently. The ancient words weren't too gorgeous, but in the plain and ordinary words, there was an endless majesty that was above the world. "Prepare to open the door." Looking at the 4 ancient words, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the others were delighted. In the next moment, Chu Bei, Gu Yuan, Xiao Yin, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, Yin Jin, Shi Tian, and Ning Hao each took out a 2 ancient god's jade. When the 8 jade pendants touched each other, they instantly formed a bright ball of light. The ball of light flew up and floated in front of the ancient door. As everyone waited, the ball of light rippled and turned into an illusory old figure. As the old figure appeared, the energy in the space instantly boiled and a pressure that seemed to be the ruler of the world descended from the sky. "Tua, Tu-Shi ancient god." Seeing the old man with long beautiful hair, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others involuntarily exclaimed. In the past 1,000 years, other than Boss Chu who had recently appeared of unknown origin, it was likely that only the last OD in the Do-Chi continent could possess such an aura. It was likely that only the legendary last OD, the Tu-Shi ancient god, was able to possess such an aura. The long-haired old man appeared to be a consciousness without a soul. He did not even look at everyone present. All he did was stiffly raise his right hand and press it on the ancient door. Buzz. Accompanied by a rumble, the ancient door that had been tightly shut for many years slowly wiggled. Threads of crack lines appeared. The crack lines became increasingly large. Within a couple of breaths, the ancient stone door finally moved to the sides with a creaking sound. Chi. The moment the ancient stone door was opened, an ancient ripple that originated from the ancient times suddenly rushed out from behind the huge door. Under this ripple, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the others were forced to take a couple of steps back. Bang, bang, bang. Following the opening of the stone door, the ancient ripple became increasingly intense. In the end, all the strong people involuntarily circulated the Do-Chi in their bodies. When the ancient stone door was completely opened, the ripple that seemed to originate from the ancient times completely surged out. The entire magma exploded and formed stormy waves. Be careful. Something is coming. Suddenly, a chill surged into Yao Dan's heart. He could sense that there were quite a number of obscure auras at the door that were swiftly approaching them. Chi, chi, chi. Amid the strange hissing sound, a densely packed bright red figure surged out from within the door. Finally, they surrounded Chu Bei's group, trespassing into the D mansion. Die. This was a group of lizard-like creatures. The leader was a dark green lizard person. The dark green lizard person's icy cold eyes stared intently at everyone. The icy tone had just been emitted when the surrounding lizard people revealed a ferocious expression in their eyes. The scales on their bodies became dark, following which, they swarmed toward Chu Bei's group from all directions with a murderous intent. The expressions of Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest did not change when they sensed the aura fluctuation of these lizard people. Even the strongest lizard person was merely a one-star dosheng. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest were scattered. Their bodies did not move as a vast and mighty pressure swiftly spread from within their bodies. Bang, bang, bang. Gu Yuan and the rest attacked one after another. Powerful Tian-class Do techniques were unleashed. The magma instantly boiled and explosions continued to rumble. In just a short while, the lizard people army was sent flying. Their flesh and blood were blasted apart. Humans, you will not have a good ending for trespassing into the D mansion. The originally ferocious dark green lizard person immediately led his tribesmen and withdrew when he sensed the aura fluctuation of Gu Yuan's group. He did not forget to utter threatening words as he left. Let's go in. After forcing back the lizard people army, Chu Bei took the lead and stepped through the door. Gu Yuan, Lei Ying, and the rest followed close behind. All of them were as quick as lightning. Die. However, when everyone had just passed through the ancient door, a demonic voice that seemed to have originated from hell mysteriously sounded in the deathly silent space. Everyone felt their heads explode when they heard this sinister voice. They looked towards the source of the voice. When they clearly saw the scene below, the expressions of the experts changed. They involuntarily knit their brows. It was an indescribably large creature. It was entrenched in the dark space behind the ancient door and did not move at all. At a closer look, this mysterious large creature was purple-gold in color. Icy cold scales covered its body. A kind of strong steel-like feeling involuntarily rose when one looked at it. What kind of creature is this? Could it be a mount that the Tu-Shi ancient god reared? Looking at the enormous creature that seemed capable of swallowing the heavens and the earth, the powerhouses of the 6 clans who followed behind suddenly felt a wave of horror. They did not expect that there would be such a quiet space behind this ancient door. Moreover, there was such a large creature. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the other clan heads of the 6 clans looked at each other. They seemed to have some guesses about this large creature. They then looked at Ziyin, Qing Shan, Qing Shui, and the other ancient void dragons. When they saw the large creature below, their breathing started to quicken. Dragon Emperor Grand, die! Qing Shan's eyes turned red. However, before his trembling words fell, the sinister voice that seemed to have come from hell came from below once again. At the next moment, the body of the large creature below trembled slightly. In the dark space, a pair of large eyes that had been closed for a long time suddenly opened. This was a pair of blood-red eyes. The moment it opened, it locked onto everyone present, almost at the same time. An extremely terrifying pressure enveloped the entire space, causing everyone to feel an inexplicable sense of danger. It was indeed him. Sensing the aura that was not weaker than Gu Yuan's released by the large creature below, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest cried out in surprise. It seemed to have confirmed their guesses. Old Dragon Emperor, I didn't expect you to become like this. Is it because of the Tu-Shi ancient god? Gu Yuan took a step forward. He looked at the large creature below and let out a faint sigh, after which he waved his right hand. This dark world that was mixed with red light instantly became bright. It was also at this moment that everyone present clearly saw the appearance of the large creature. Ancient Void Dragon. It was an ancient void dragon that was over 100 times stronger than an ordinary ancient void dragon. A dragon roar sounded and the entire space suddenly shook. A bright purple-gold light pillar broke through the space below. It pierced through the void and ruthlessly struck towards everyone. It is fine if you can't recognize me. However, you can't even recognize your clansmen and your daughter? Gu Yuan's eyes turned cold when he saw Zhu Kuan launch an attack. He flipped his right hand. At the next moment, a large golden palm violently collided with the purple gold light pillar. Rumble. A terrifying storm tore through the void amidst a loud sound. Its soul has been stripped. Now, it is merely an empty shell without any self-awareness. Chu Bei's calm voice sounded when Zhu Kuan once again unleashed an even more terrifying purple gold light pillar. A talisman paper made from an unknown material appeared in Chu Bei's hand after his voice sounded. He casually waved it. The talisman paper carried a sharp wind as it easily destroyed the purple gold light pillar, after which it was pasted on Zhu Kuan's head. Zhu Kuan's large body rolled wildly amidst a sharp dragon roar. His body continued to shrink under the suppression of the strange talisman. Finally, he turned into a tall, middle-aged man. Soon after, the man seemed to be bound by an invisible force. He floated uncontrollably in front of Chu Bei. The middle-aged man's eyes were empty and lifeless. He stared blankly in front of him. He struggled with all his might as his body writhed and released a monstrous, murderous intent. "Boss Chu, you are extremely powerful. Please save the old dragon emperor." Qing Shan and Qing Shui suddenly knelt in front of Chu Bei.
Relax.
After Chu Bei helped Qing Shan and Qing Shui up, he suddenly looked toward a certain direction in the void. He waved his right hand, and a huge, seven-colored palm print appeared. The palm print was slightly bent, and a terrifying suction force instantly surged out. A translucent soul wrapped in a strange energy shot toward the seven-colored palm print with lightning speed under several gazes. Chi. The strange energy that acted as a seal disappeared the moment it came into contact with the seven-colored palm print. "Merge." Chu Bei said one word at a time. The translucent soul quickly entered the tall man's body. At the same time, the talisman paper pasted on Zhu Kuan's head burned into ashes. A moment later, Zhu Kuan's large body suddenly trembled. His empty eyes gradually became clear. "Child, my child." Zhu Kuan's consciousness returned. His gaze first swept across Qing Shan and Qing Shui, after which it landed on Ziyin in a daze. His body could not help but tremble slightly. "Ziyin, go ahead." Chu Bei patted Ziyan's shoulder gently. "Boss, thank you." Ziyin lifted her eyes and glanced at Chu Bei, after which she walked directly towards Zhu Kuan. Her eyes gradually became wet. She could sense an extremely familiar blood sent from the other party's body. It was the bloodline of the same origin. In this world, only her birth parents could possess it. "Child." Zhu Kuan's golden eyes, which were originally filled with dignity, became gentle the moment he saw Ziyin. His heart, which had been silent for countless years, suddenly began to beat intensely. "Father." Ziyin's delicate body trembled slightly. She bit her red lips and extended her hand, allowing Zhu Kuan to hold it tightly. Zhu Kuan's body trembled even more violently when he heard this cry. A complicated smile suddenly surfaced on his resolute face. In the end, he hugged Ziyin and sobbed, "My child, your father has let you down." Chapter 178. Bright golden light surged out from Zhu Kuan and Ziyan's bodies as their bodies came into contact. Finally, it merged perfectly at the point where their palms met. Almost at the same time, an extremely terrifying pressure spread. Plop. Qing Shan and Qing Shui knelt down on the spot. The Dragon Emperor's might did not give them any room to resist. The father and daughter duo hugged each other tightly for a minute. Ziyin pointed at Chu Bei and said, "Father, it was Boss who saved you. He is also the great benefactor of our ancient dragon tribe." Ziyin immediately told Zhu Kuan about the splitting of the ancient dragon island and how Chu Bei had saved the situation. Zhu Kuan walked to Chu Bei's side after hearing Ziyin's explanation. He bowed deeply to express his gratitude. "Old Dragon Emperor, how did you end up in such a miserable state given your strength?" At this moment, Gu Yuan's voice sounded. Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest of the 6 tribe leaders' eyes were filled with confusion. "Wrong. All of us were wrong. We were all wrong." Zhu Kuan released Ziyin. His eyes landed on Gu Yuan as he let out a long sigh. His sigh was filled with a rich unwillingness and regret. "Wrong? What wrong?" "Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest frowned and immediately asked. All of you must have thought that the two-she ancient god had already shattered the void and ascended to an even vaster world outside of the Do-Chi continent. Moreover, he had left behind the Emperor-grade embryonic pill that could allow one to advance to the Do-Di class. Zhu Kuan exhaled a long breath and spoke in a faint voice. Is there a problem? Gu Yuan and the rest frowned even more. This was indeed what they thought. It is true that there is an Emperor-grade embryonic pill, and it can indeed allow one to advance to the Do-Di class. However, the two-she ancient god did not shatter the void. Moreover, it was controlled by an evil thought that did not belong to our Do-Chi continent. Zhu Kuan clenched his fists tightly as he spoke until this point. He spoke in a deep voice with hatred. The reason why I ended up like that was because of this evil thought. Even if the two-she ancient god and I joined hands, we were no match for that evil thought. We were merely ants in front of it. What? An evil thought that did not belong to the continent? When they heard Zhu Kuan's words, the pupils of the experts from the 6 clans suddenly shrank, and their faces were filled with shock. Even Chu Bei couldn't help but frown. The development of the situation seemed to have deviated from the direction he had predicted. Now, he had already used up all of his level 11 merchandise rights. Relying on his level 10 merchandise rights, his strongest combat power was only at the pseudo-emperor level. From what Zhu Kuan had said, the evil thought that controlled the two-she ancient god was above that of a Do-Di. If I remember correctly, he came from some great thousand world. Zhu Kuan pondered. The great wide world? Where is that? Gu Yuan asked. The place where the Do-Di went after breaking through the sky. Our Do-Chi continent is merely one of the continents within the Great Thousand World. Zhu Kuan continued. I really want to take a look. A yearning look appeared in Gu Yuan's eyes. Just as he finished speaking, he seemed to have thought of something and quickly looked at Chu Bei. Boss Chu, you're not from the Great Wide World, are you? Beyond the Great Thousand Worlds, there is an even vaster world. Chu Bei pretended to be profound. He gave Gu Yuan a look and allowed the other party to figure it out himself. In short, we cannot stay here for long. Let's quickly leave this place before that evil thought discovers us. However, the 100,000 feet large door, which had already been opened, was once again shut with a bang after Zhu Kuan's anxious voice sounded. Since you have come, you should stay behind. In the next moment, a low and deep voice that seemed to have originated from hell sounded within this deathly silent space. Zhu Kuan's expression changed drastically when he heard this voice. Horror surged into his eyes. Is that evil thought speaking? Gu Yuan looked at Zhu Kuan. Before Zhu Kuan could reply, a strand of strange energy enveloped everyone in this deathly silent void. In the blink of an eye, everyone was brought to a floating island by this strange energy. Following the appearance of Chu Bei's group, the loneliness that had permeated the island for tens of thousands of years was suddenly broken. Has the ancient god mansion formed a world of its own? The eyes of the experts from the 6 clans hurriedly swept in all directions after they landed on the ground. Somehow, this place seems to have a great suppression on spiritual strength. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Even the strength of a peak Do Shang soul was unable to probe beyond 1,000 feet radius. It is unexpected that I have returned to this place after 1,000 years. Zhu Kuan sighed emotionally. His eyes cautiously swept over this strange space. It was as though he was afraid of something. At a glance, there was an ancient stone hall in the middle of the island. The stone hall stood quietly. An ancient aura spread and reverberated across the sky. There was an incomparably large square in front of the stone hall. Many 10,000 feet large sky supporting pillars stood on both sides of the square. The experts from the 6 clans had just arrived at the square when a majestic aura pounced over. That is the mysterious yellow flame. Yin Jin's footsteps suddenly paused as he walked on the square. His eyes were firmly locked onto the top of a stone pillar. There was a cluster of deep yellow flame rising at that spot. Being the owner of many heavenly flames, he was able to recognize the mysterious yellow flame, which was ranked 23rd on the heavenly flame ranking. 10,000 Beast Spirit Flame, ranked 22nd on the heavenly flame ranking. Yin Yang Twin Flame, ranked 21st on the Heavenly Flame ranking. Netherworld Poison Flame, ranked 20 on the Heavenly Flame ranking. Green Lotus Core Flame, ranked 19 on the Heavenly Flame ranking. Yin Jin's eyes swiftly swept over the top of the other stone pillars. The more he looked, the more excited he became. Other than the top 3 on the Heavenly Flame ranking, the remaining Heavenly Flames were actually present on these stone pillars. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest looked at the clusters of Heavenly Flames. Although they were not as excited as Yin Jin, their faces also revealed surprise. Side mission activated. Host will obtain all the Heavenly Flames present. Mission completion reward. 1 use of a level 12 high-tier commodity. The system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's mind while everyone was intensely discussing the Heavenly Flames on the stone pillars. Chu Bei was initially startled. After recovering, a smile was lifted from the corner of his mouth. The next moment, Chu Bei waved his left hand, and a golden circular plate appeared. He waved his right hand, and a 7-colored flame swept over the Heavenly Flames on the stone pillars. In an instant, another 20 clusters of Heavenly Flames were added to the 7-colored flame. After that, the 7-colored flame wrapped around the 20 clusters of Heavenly Flames and entered the golden circular plate. Witnessing this scene, all the powerful figures, including the ancient void dragon, could not help but be startled. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Their astonishment naturally stemmed from Chu Bei's bandit-like actions. Secondly, it stemmed from the other party's terrifying strength. He was actually able to subdue 20 clusters of Heavenly Flames at the same time. Host will obtain all the Heavenly Flames present. Mission completion reward. 1 use of a level 12 high-tier commodity. When the system's voice sounded, Chu Bei became even more calm and collected. With the use of a level 12 high-tier commodity in hand, he could be considered to have the confidence to face the unknown evil thoughts. Rumble. Not long after Chu Bei kept the Heavenly Flames on the stone pillars, a loud noise sounded above everyone. Looking over, they saw a stone statue that was 10,000 feet tall appear out of thin air above their heads. The stone statue had the appearance of an old man. Gu Yuan and the rest were no strangers to that appearance. It was the Tu-Shi ancient god. The stone statue floated in the void, emitting an extremely powerful aura that seemed to be above heaven and earth. Under such an aura, the powerful figures of the 6 clans felt as if they were being suppressed by Mount Tai. They tried their best to circulate their battle energy to resist. Many balls of light danced around the stone statue. It was gorgeous and dazzling. Are those the cultivation methods and battle skills that the Tu-Shi ancient god collected? Looking at the balls of light above, the powerful figures were overjoyed. These balls of light were actually some ancient scrolls. From the scrolls, they could feel an extremely powerful spirituality. This spirituality was not inferior to the so-called heaven-level cultivation methods or battle skills in the outside world. This is the first time in thousands of years that this place is so lively. Little Loach, I didn't expect you to regain consciousness and even bring such a group of people. Especially that fellow. He can actually swallow so many Heavenly Flames at the same time. That energy and aura makes me a little envious. I can't wait to eat him up now. Suddenly, an old voice sounded in everyone's ears. Looking towards the direction of the voice, a figure appeared on the right shoulder of the stone statue. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at everyone below calmly. His expression was as if he was looking at ants. Tu-Shi ancient god. Yao Dan and the rest immediately exclaimed involuntarily when their eyes swept over the plain-robed old man. The latter's appearance was clearly exactly the same as the stone statue. His unique bright long hair was also something that no one could create. Old Dragon Emperor, the feeling that the aura on his body gives me is a little different from the figure that we saw through the Tu-Shi ancient god jade earlier. I even have a feeling that his strength is similar to mine. It is not impossible to fight him. Gu Yuan glanced at the old man on the stone statue, who was emitting a powerful aura. He looked at Zhu Kuan with some confusion. Zhu Kuan lifted his eyes and swept them over the old man. He emitted a cold snort. This is because he is not the Tu-Shi ancient god. Instead, he is the D-tier embryonic pill. After he finished speaking, A trace of disdain appeared in Zhu Kuan's eyes as he looked at the Emperor-grade embryonic pill, submitting to the evil intent from the great thousand world in order to survive. You have done well. It is at least better than your end. All of you have become puppets. The D-tier embryonic pill retorted. What? It is the D pill. The experts from the 6 clans widened their mouths when they heard Zhu Kuan's words. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, Yanjin, and the rest were initially startled. Immediately, a strange luster was emitted from their eyes. Their eyes contained joy. Why? Don't tell me that you bunch of ants are planning to target me? The old man on the stone statue cried out furiously when he sensed the greed in the eyes of Gu Yuan's group. Attack! Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and Lei Ying faced each other and smiled, after which their expressions swiftly became dense. Zhu Kuan and Gu Yuan took the lead to shoot forward after their orderly cry sounded. Monstrous doqi spread. Finally, it turned into a tide that ruthlessly smashed towards the D-tier embryonic pill. Is that all? The D-tier embryonic pill glanced at the attack of Zhu Kuan's group. He laughed coldly. One could see his finger gently being pressed forward. The monstrous energy tide that was heading towards him was cut apart by his finger. Zhu Kuan and Gu Yuan clearly did not expect to be able to obtain the D-tier embryonic pill with a single attack. Their auras continued to soar. Chapter 179. The energy in the battlefield suddenly became wild and violent following the rise of Zhu Kuan's and Gu Yuan's auras, adding the strength of Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and Yanjin. An attack that could cause the world to crumble continuously attacked the D-tier embryonic pill. The D-tier embryonic pill still did not reveal any fear in the face of the combined attack of 7 top experts. A heart-palpitating ripple spread as it raised its hand. In the end, it forcefully blocked the combined attack of the 7 of them. The observing experts from the 6 clans involuntarily inhaled a breath of cool air as they watched the battle above. Just a D-tier embryonic pill was actually able to fight against 7 ultimate experts on the continent without being at a disadvantage. Just how frightening would it be if the real She ancient god was present? It was likely that the D pressure that was unleashed would be able to suppress them until they were unable to move. It is really a waste of time to fight with all of you. Once that puppet ancient god arrives, it will deal with all of you. The D-tier embryonic pill's aura once again rose after the cry that carried ridicule and disdain sounded. After forcing back the 7 experts with one attack, it rushed towards Chu Bei's location. Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and Yao Dan stopped their pursuit at the same time when they saw the D-tier embryonic pill suddenly turn to attack Chu Bei. They withdrew the attacks that they were about to unleash as a mocking smile appeared on the corners of their mouths. This D-tier embryonic pill could have offended anyone, but it just had to offend the unfathomable Boss Chu. The D-tier embryonic pill frowned after sensing the playful expression of Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the rest. The D-tier embryonic pill's eyes continued to lock onto Chu Bei after being unable to understand why Zhu Kuan and the rest had such an expression. It involuntarily licked its lips. I am actually very interested in you. Perhaps I might also be able to step into the D stage after swallowing you. The D-tier embryonic pill was intoxicated when it was still 10 meters away from Chu Bei. It inhaled a deep breath of air. Its eyes were filled with greed as it looked at Chu Bei. Chu Bei crossed his hands in front of his chest. He involuntarily laughed after hearing the words of the D-tier embryonic pill. An inexplicable chill surged within the D-tier embryonic pill after seeing Chu Bei's smile, especially the latter's eyes that seemed to be looking at prey. Imperial Pill Palm. The eyes of the embryonic Emperor Pill narrowed. He didn't hesitate and took the initiative to attack. His body suddenly shifted, and he sent a palm strike towards Chu Bei. The moment his palm struck out, a dazzling ball of light about the size of a human head emerged. Chi, chi, chi. Along with the appearance of this gorgeous ball of light, the energy of this world was like boiling oil that had encountered a hot flame, suddenly burning fiercely. As far as the eye could see, the entire sky above the square was filled with burning flames. The void seemed to have turned into a furnace at this moment. The expressions of Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan and the others changed slightly when they saw the might of the D-tier embryonic pill's palm. They had never expected that the D-tier embryonic pill had actually not used its full strength in the previous battle. The Emperor-grade embryonic pill stared coldly at Chu Bei. As it pressed its hands down, the flames in the world whizzed down at an astonishing speed. In a short instant, the endless flames that filled the world all entered the brilliant ball of light. Destroy! With a slap of his palm, the entire world darkened. Little guy, you don't understand the situation. Out of so many people, you just have to choose me. 18 balls of light appeared in front of Chu Bei after his mocking voice sounded. They were saber, spear, sword, halberd, axe, hook, fork, whip, mace, hammer, dagger axe, mace, pole, lance, rod, spear, and rake. They corresponded to the 18 different weapons. However, these were not ordinary weapons. Every single one of them was a high-grade level 10 offensive weapon that Chu Bei had used his desire points to exchange for. Every single weapon was equivalent to the might of a Ban Emperor. How is this possible? The D-tier embryonic pill's face was instantly filled with horror as it looked at the 18 different weapons that had appeared and sensed the terrifying might contained within each of them. However, before it could turn around and flee, the 18 different weapons surrounded it from 18 different directions. Soon after, they all charged forward together. 18 different sharp attacks that carried a destructive might smashed towards it. The palm strike that the D-tier embryonic pill had unleashed was directly annihilated by the energy shockwaves from the 18 different weapons. Threads of white smoke quickly seeped out of the D-tier embryonic pill's body under the encirclement of the 18 different weapons. A sharp, miserable cry also suddenly sounded. The body of the D-tier embryonic pill gradually began to shrink. It was showing signs of turning into a medicinal pill. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest shook their heads and laughed bitterly when they saw this scene. The D-tier embryonic pill, which was not inferior to the 7 of them, had been reduced to such a miserable state in the next moment. Withdraw. The D-tier embryonic pill let out a miserable cry after Chu Bei's cry sounded. It turned back into a crystal-clear, exquisite medicinal pill. Immediately, a medicinal fragrance spread and filled the entire space. Everyone merely took 2 deep breaths as they sniffed the medicinal fragrance. They discovered that the dou qi in their bodies, which had reached a bottleneck, had once again become active and showed signs of breaking through. The faces of the experts from the 6 clans were filled with joy when they sensed the change in their bodies. This was indeed worthy of being a D-tier medicinal pill. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the rest exchanged glances with each other as they watched the D-tier pill in Chu Bei's hand. Some helplessness appeared on their faces. They also greatly desired this D-tier pill. After all, it was the foundation of the path to becoming a DD. However, they did not have the courage to snatch the D-tier pill from Chu Bei's hands. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Soon after Chu Bei subdued the D-tier pill, tens of thousands of strange light rays suddenly shot out from the ground in the heavenly flame square, following which, a strange fluctuation suddenly rose from the many sky-reaching stone pillars. Circular ripples spread apart. The frequency of the stone pillars trembling increased. In the end, one could hear a continuous cracking sound as a deep and huge black hole appeared in the middle of the heavenly flame square. Blood-purple light spread from the black hole. This light was just like a thin veil that instantly covered the bodies of everyone in the square. Bang, bang, bang. Following the cover of the blood-purple light, the faces of the top experts in the square, including Yao Dan, Lei Ying, Yin Jin, and the rest, suddenly paled. Both of their legs knelt down. It was as if the thin layer of blood-purple light possessed a great amount of pressure. After Lei Ying's group, Gu Yuan's and Zhu Kuan's bodies also slowly bent downwards. The bones all over their bodies emitted a clear cracking sound at this moment. Their faces had also turned red. Bang, bang. This kind of endurance did not last for long. The 2 of them were finally exhausted. Their knees landed on the ground with a bang. For a time, only Chu Bei was able to maintain a calm and unruffled attitude in the square. He is here. Zhu Kuan's face was flushed red. He clenched his teeth. However, his body appeared to be pressed by Mount Tai, and was unable to move. Him? The true Tu Shi ancient god. Gu Yuan's eyes shrunk. His struggle was futile, and he relaxed. Being suppressed by an elite Do Di was not considered much of a humiliation. Chi chi chi. Bright flames surged out from the black hole amidst the burning sound. In an instant, the heavenly flame square had turned into a sea of fire. The color of the sea of fire was extremely colorful. It possessed an unusual and stunning beauty. Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the rest of the experts within the Sea of Fire crazily maneuvered the Do Chi within their bodies to form an armor to resist the burning of the Sea of Fire. Another couple of seconds passed. Flames churned and agglomerated within the bright Sea of Fire. They transformed into a huge fire flower bud that slowly bloomed. An elderly figure wearing a dark-colored robe appeared in front of everyone's eyes. His long hair was especially eye-catching because there were actually 21 different colors. However, the eyes of the old man appeared extremely empty. It was as though he had lost his soul. The old man sat on the fire flower bud. His empty eyes landed on Chu Bei's body. The experts from the 6 clans in the square were stunned as they looked at the old man. They had already seen this face twice. However, the first 2 times, one was an illusory figure and the other was a deep hill. Both could be said to be fake. However, the person in front of them was the genuine Tu Shi ancient god. He is indeed worthy of having swallowed a heavenly flame to become a DD. Yin Jin was startled as he looked at the old man. His eyes were filled with shock as he sensed the fire energy within the other party's body. There were records regarding the Tu Shi ancient god. Everything in the world has its own spirit. It was the same for a heavenly flame. There was once a heavenly flame that was born in the world. It took 1,000 years to form and 10,000 years to gather its spirit. After it gained intelligence, it roamed around for 1,000 years and survived by swallowing flames. The flames that it swallowed were all ranked on the heavenly flame ranking. There were 20 types of flames on it that had been swallowed by it. After this heavenly flame succeeded, it called itself the Emperor Flame. After which, it once again trained for 1,000 years before being born. It was respectfully called the Tu Shi ancient god. The Tu Shi ancient god stared at Chu Bei from above the square. A monstrous bloody aura surged out from his body. It instantly merged with the Sea of Fire and formed an endless sea of blood. Chu Bei's eyes met the Tu Shi ancient god's. His expression was calm, and there was not the slightest panic. Retreat. We cannot stay here. Zhu Kuan and Gu Yuan immediately gave the order after sensing the unusual atmosphere above. The next moment, the experts from the 6 clans swiftly withdrew from the heavenly flame square and flew towards the empty space in the distance. One was the most famous genuine Do Di in the past 1,000 years. The other was a mysterious existence, whose strength was unknown, who might have come from outside the Do Chi continent. The battle between the two of them was sufficient to destroy the world. If one were to be caught in it, even a peak Dosheng would have difficulty escaping death. Everyone, including Zhu Kuan and Gu Yuan, held their breaths as they looked at the 2 figures facing each other in the distant sky above the heavenly flame square. Although the 2 figures had yet to make a move, their auras had already spread out like a mountain. Crash, crash. The sea of blood was monstrous and spread across the sky. The empty eyes of the Tu Shi ancient god were suddenly filled with a scarlet blood color. The dead silence suddenly shattered after the Tu Shi ancient god stepped out of the fire flower bud. In an instant, the entire sky began to tremble. The monstrous sea of blood wildly churned and directly transformed into 100,000 feet large blood wave. The Tu Shi ancient god was expressionless. After emitting a strange cry from his mouth, the heavenly flame square rumbled and split apart into a huge, deep abyss. Within the deep abyss, crimson magma shot up into the sky like a fountain. Finally, it merged into the monstrous sea of blood. The 2 forces intertwined as they ruthlessly swept towards Chu Bei with an apocalyptic might. Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the many experts in the distance were shocked as they looked at the 100,000 feet tall terrifying blood wave. After exhaling a long breath, their grave eyes landed on Chu Bei. Chapter 180. On the battlefield, Chu Bei looked at the monstrous wave of blood that covered the sky and covered the earth with the power to destroy the world. His expression did not change, and he still maintained a calm and composed posture. The host has successfully exchanged for a level 12 upper grade product. You have obtained half of the fire god Zhurong's power. Time limit is 15 minutes. The moment the system's voice rang out, a loud rumble sounded above Chu Bei's head. After that, under the astounded gazes of Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the other experts, an enormous gap suddenly appeared in the originally calm sky above Chu Bei, and boundless flames poured down from within the gap. It was different from the aura of the heavenly flames that they had come into contact with. The flames that poured down from the gap were filled with an energy aura that they had never come into contact with before. In fact, the flames even carried an aura that made them want to submit. Amidst the rumble, a huge shadow holding a fire spear appeared in the gap where the flames were surging. The shadow swept across the surroundings expressionlessly. It seemed as if it was looking down on the world. Just as Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the others were guessing the origin of the shadow holding the fire spear, the huge shadow turned into a ray of light and entered Chu Bei's body in an instant. In the next moment, Chu Bei's aura underwent a tremendous change. Apart from his aura, he seemed to have become a different person. A fire god's spear also appeared in his hand out of thin air. If one looked carefully, the fire god's spear was held by the huge shadow that had entered his body earlier. The monstrous wave of blood was getting closer and closer to Chu Bei. However, just as the monstrous wave of blood was about to drown Chu Bei, the latter's eyes lit up with a red light. Rumble. Immediately, an invisible but real terrifying energy spread out with Chu Bei as the center. In an instant, the monstrous wave of blood that was surging towards Chu Bei was pushed away by this energy. It could not even get close to half a meter away from the former. You can wait at the side first. Chu Bei glanced indifferently at the two-she ancient emperor whose eyes were empty. After his calm voice sounded, he clenched his right hand. With a bang, the void trembled. The void around the two-she ancient emperor was distorted. A flame prison trapped the two-she ancient emperor. Bang, bang, bang. Inside the flame prison, no matter how the two-she ancient emperor frantically smashed into it, the walls of the prison were not damaged at all. He actually trapped the two-she ancient gods so easily. He's still trapped by flames. Could it be that Boss Chu's attainments in playing with fire are even above the two-she ancient emperor? The latter is an existence that has devoured 20 types of heavenly flames. Witnessing this scene, the experts of the 6 clans were horrified. Even the eyes of Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, Yao Dan, and the other top experts were filled with rich shock. Stop hiding. At this moment, Chu Bei looked towards the southwest not far from the two-she ancient emperor. Just as Chu Bei's calm voice fell, under the confused gazes of the experts of the 6 clans, a black ball of light appeared out of thin air in the southwest. The moment the black ball of light appeared, the originally scorching temperature above the heavenly flame square suddenly turned cold. Looking closely, there was a translucent human face in the ball of light, but it was impossible to see its specific appearance. That's it. This is it. That evil thought that came from the great thousand world. Zhu Kuan's face clearly revealed a terrified expression when he saw the dark black ball of light. Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the rest also had an additional grave expression in their eyes as they stared at the dark black ball of light with great caution. It is unexpected that other than it, there is actually another fellow like you on this continent who has also reached this level. A low and deep cold in the forest voice was emitted from the dark black ball of light. Soon after, 2 blood-red eyes shot out and were fixed on Chu Bei's body. With it and you, I should be able to recover. Chi. The dark black ball of light penetrated the void after the voice sounded. It directly passed through the flame cage and entered the body of the two-she ancient emperor. Almost at the same time, the originally empty eyes of the two-she ancient emperor had an additional ruthless expression. It was as though he had gained consciousness. However, it was obvious that this consciousness did not belong to the two-she ancient emperor. Instead, It was the evil thought that had entered the two-she ancient emperor's body earlier. Perhaps it was due to the support of the evil thought, but the aura of the two-she ancient emperor swiftly soared. In the end, the energy ripple that erupted from it actually broke apart the flame cage. Emperor Flame Lightning. A cold in the forest cry was emitted from the two-she ancient emperor's mouth. His right hand swept across the surrounding raging flames. As his finger was pointed, the raging flames shrunk and gathered, after which they began to wiggle intensely like a huge organ. As the boundless flames contracted, the sky collapsed, and a pitch-black spatial gap spread out at a terrifying speed. In the next instant, a dark black crack line suddenly spread open above Chu Bei. Countless mountain-sized fire lightning came pouring down in a crazy manner like a torrential downpour. The flame lightning churned. The strength that each of them contained caused the faces of Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the rest in the distance to turn pale. This is the strength of that evil thought. It is even stronger than the two-she ancient emperor. He is currently using the two-she ancient emperor to unleash his remarkable ability. Zhu Kuan looked at the two-she ancient emperor in the battlefield with incomparable fear. It was not difficult to hear the fear within his words. Within the battlefield, Chu Bei lifted his eyes and looked at the flame lightning that came falling from above his head. His right hand held the fire god's spear and shook slightly. Immediately, a flame formed from dozens of different colors swept out from the tip of the spear. Subsequently, it evolved into a fire giant that stood in the sky. The fire giant widened its mouth. Immediately, the entire place became silent. Incomparably brilliant flame light beams that were formed from a couple of different colors were suddenly shot out from its mouth and collided with the countless flame lightning. Rumble. The flame light beams collided with the flame lightning in the sky. Accompanied by an earth-shaking loud sound, the entire empty space trembled under this incomparably intense energy fluctuation. Many huge cracks were formed. However, the rolling flame lightning merely lasted for a couple of seconds before it became weak and was swallowed by the flame light beams. This flame, how is it possible? Don't tell me that you have also reached this stage by swallowing a heavenly flame? That's not right. The aura of your flame is very strange. It is different from it. It does not belong to this continent. The eyes of the two-she ancient god, who had been invaded by the evil thought, shrunk as he watched the flame light beam that destroyed the flame lightning and disappeared into the dark black gap. Some shock flashed across his eyes. Don't tell me that you have also mistakenly entered this continent like me. Is that all you've got? Chu Bei did not reply to the evil thought's question. Instead, he crossed his hands in front of his chest and had a mocking expression on his face. The expression of the two-she ancient god sunk upon hearing this. It was extremely ugly. His blood-red eyes began to transition into a black-purple color. From the looks of the situation earlier, Boss Chu has not only received the attack of the evil thought, but he has also gained the upper hand. Gu Yuan glanced at Zhu Kuan beside him, after which he locked his gaze on Chu Bei and said, "Perhaps with this Boss Chu around, our situation is not as bad as I had imagined." Zhu Kuan's eyes were firmly fixed on Chu Bei. Based on what the evil thought had said, it seems that this Boss Chu has really come from the Great Thousand World just like him. Yao Dan spoke in a deep voice. Have all of you forgotten that Boss Chu had once said that there is an even vaster world outside of the Great Thousand World? Yin Jin added, we still have a very long way to go on the path of cultivation. At the very least, we must first walk out of this Do-Chi continent and head to the Great Thousand World to take a look. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest exchanged glances with each other. Their faces were filled with yearning. Soon after, they glanced at the figure on the battlefield. Their eyes were filled with respect. Do not think that you can fight with me just because you were able to receive my previous attack. The purple-black cold eyes of the two-she ancient god locked onto Chu Bei in the sky. His dense cold voice had just sounded when he opened his mouth towards the huge black hole in the middle of the heavenly flame square. Immediately, a suction force surged out. The endless black light within the black hole rushed into his mouth from all directions. After the black light was swallowed by the two-she ancient god, His body suddenly swelled. A strange black glow that was like a surging river swiftly whistled out from the pores all over his body. Within a short instant, he turned into 100,000 feet tall black fog giant. Clusters of black light balls that emitted cracking sounds lingered around his body. The black fog giant stood in the sky and covered the entire sky. Under this frightening visual impact, Yao Dan, Lei Ying, and the rest did not doubt that just a random punch from the Tushi ancient god would be able to easily kill all the experts from the 8 ancient clans. Compared to before, the frightening aura on the body of the Tushi ancient god had once again risen to another level. Just the act of inhaling and exhaling caused wind and lightning to surge. When he exhaled, the energy of the entire empty space formed a huge ripple. Could this be the body of a Do Di? The expressions of Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest changed as they looked at the 100,000 feet tall black fog giant. Being from an ancient clan, they were naturally aware of the legends of a Do Di. A true elite Do Di was able to absorb the world into their body. At that time, they would be the world. A simple gesture would be able to break the sky. Their strength was terrifyingly great. This kind of enormous body was not formed from energy. Instead, it was an actual physical body. This kind of ability to transform into 100,000 feet tall body was called the body of a Do Di. Compared to the shocked expressions of Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest, Chu Bei merely glanced indifferently at the black fog giant. The corner of his mouth contained a faint smile. His emotions did not fluctuate even a little. One's strength is not determined by one's size. Chu Bei held the fire god's spear in his hand. His voice carried a teasing tone as it drifted over the battlefield. The 100,000 feet large black fog giant emitted a cold snort when it met Chu Bei's disdainful eyes, after which its large legs stepped forward. A fist that was accompanied by wind, clouds, and lightning smashed towards Chu Bei. Immediately, the sky collapsed. Chu Bei unhurriedly lifted the fire spear in his hand. The tip of the spear met the fist of the black fog giant. In front of the black fog giant's fist, the fire god's spear in Chu Bei's hand was so tiny that it was not even comparable to a speck of dust. However, in comparison, such a small fire spear had forcefully stopped the frightening fist, which was thousands of times larger. Not only that, a monstrous energy suddenly surged out from the tip of the inconspicuous spear, while the experts from the 6 clans were stunned. Under this energy, the 100,000 feet large black fog giant was directly sent flying. A mouthful of blood was spat out. It was as if red blood was flowing in the sky. Half-step to heavenly sovereign. You have actually come into contact with this level. The 100,000 feet large black fog giant stabilized its body. Its large eyes once again looked at Chu Bei. A horrified expression surfaced on its face. You do not belong here. Why do you want to harm the living things on this continent? Listen to my advice. Leave that body as soon as possible and allow it to return. You should enter reincarnation. Chu Bei calmly looked at the black fog giant and advised. Mind your own business. Black mysterious explosion. Upon hearing Chu Bei's words, the horrified expression in the black fog giant's eyes disappeared. It was replaced by an even more intense murderous intent. Cold in the forest's low shout rang out. A frightening black energy storm swept out with the black fog giant as the center. Several long dragons formed from black energy roared as they charged towards Chu Bei. Stubborn. Waves of energy whistled by his ears. The smile on Chu Bei's face gradually disappeared. Then, he held the fire god's spear with both hands. The fire god's spear danced and stabbed out. The spear ray, which was wrapped in blazing flames, flashed past. Slash. After piercing through the long black energy dragon with an unstoppable force, it rapidly enlarged. Under the terrified gaze of the black fog giant, the spear ray arrived in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the spear ray had already reached 100,000 feet long. It was even slightly longer than the black fog giant's body. In the next instant, a frightening and strange voice rang in the ears of Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the others. Under the astonished gazes of the experts of the 6 clans, The spear ray directly pierced through the black fog giant's body. Then, a mournful wail was emitted from the black fog giant's mouth. It resounded through the entire void. Amidst the wail, the black fog giant's body shrunk continuously until it returned to the size of an ordinary person. The black ball of light, which had a translucent human face, flew out from the two ancient god's body. It struggled and rolled in the void in pain. Its hoarse wail made one feel pity for it. Its black and purple eyes stared fiercely at Chu Bei. They were filled with monstrous hatred. As for the two ancient god, he directly fell from the sky like a corpse and landed on the square with a bang. Chu Bei glanced at the two ancient god. After that, his gaze returned to the ball of evil thoughts, and he stabbed out with his spear again. The spear ray was so fast that it arrived in the blink of an eye. The ball of light did not even have time to dodge before it was pierced through by the spear ray. The ball of light was directly split into two by the spear ray. One of the balls was still the translucent human face that was filled with monstrous murderous intent. The other ball was an old man with long hair. It was the appearance of the two ancient god. Under Chu Bei's guidance, the ball of light with the old man with long hair slowly flew into the body of the two ancient god on the square below and merged into one. Not long later, the corpse-like two ancient god slowly opened his eyes. Compared to the empty space earlier, the current two ancient god clearly had his own consciousness. Under the gazes of the experts from the 6 clans, the two ancient god quickly flew in front of Chu Bei. He placed his palms together and bowed sincerely. His consciousness has returned. This is the true two ancient god. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest were enlightened after witnessing this scene. Thank you for your help, senior. The two ancient god looked at Chu Bei with gratitude. You should no longer continue to stay on this mainland. Leave behind your inheritance and head to the wider world. Chu Bei's gaze met with the two ancient gods as he spoke faintly. I have schemed for thousands of years, and all my efforts have been destroyed by you. You deserve to die. At this moment, the evil thoughts not far away stopped struggling. They let out a cold in the forest roar that caused one's heart to tremble. Chapter 181. Within the battlefield, Xian Yin's blood-red eyes were firmly locked onto Chu Bei. His voice that was filled with monstrous hatred sounded. Xian Yin appeared to have made some kind of difficult decision. Xian Yin's half-transparent face suddenly began to burn in front of Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest. A faint black flame lit up in the empty space. At the same time, Xian Yin closed his eyes and used the burning black flame to draw a strange picture in the air. His face was filled with sincerity. Everything he was doing appeared to be an ancient summoning ritual. Moreover, the completion of this summoning ritual required him to exhaust all of his spirit strength. Rumble. As more and more strange diagrams were formed, the vast ancient emperor's cave abode started to tremble violently. When the evil thoughts stopped drawing, a loud bang resounded. The entire world within the ancient emperor's cave exploded. Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the others saw a tremendous change in their vision. Where are we? Are we still in the ancient god mansion? Or are we still in the Doqi continent? Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the rest faced each other as they looked at their unfamiliar surroundings. Below them was an endless mountain range. However, these mountain ranges were floating in the empty space. Gu Yuan and the rest were unaware that they had become the focal point of the entire Doqi continent at this moment. They appeared to have been magnified many times. Every corner of the Doqi continent could see them and their surroundings as long as one raised their head. Quickly look at the sky. Who are those people? Boss Chu is there. Where are they? At this moment, all the experts on the Doqi continent were alarmed by the scene in the sky. If one were to talk about the region with the greatest impact, it would be the Central Plains. This was especially the case for the Pill Tower, Burning Flame Valley, Ice River Valley, and other top-tier factions within the Central Plains. Even if I die, I want you to accompany me in death. Perhaps it was because Xian Yin had ignited his spirit strength to draw the strange picture, but the murderous intent in his eyes only increased when he looked at Chu Bei. Xian Yin's stern cry sounded. A strange voice that was difficult to understand was emitted from his mouth. It was as though he was sincerely praying. An incomparably large, dazzling halo gradually appeared in the sky above Chu Bei's group. It was a bright golden light. In just a short moment, a vast aura pervaded the battlefield, and the endless mountain range below shook. This vast aura even began to spread throughout the entire Do-Chi continent. The two Shi ancient god, Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest were startled as they looked at the dazzling light halo above. It seemed as though an unimaginably terrifying existence was about to appear at that spot. Where is the battlefield? Is it really above us? Is there going to be a terrifying existence in that halo? Countless experts of the Central Plains stared fixedly at the sky. As they felt the vast aura pouring down, their faces were filled with shock. There were some elite Do-Zuns among them. They broke through the empty space and attempted to approach the battlefield where Chu Bei was. However, to their disbelief, no matter how high they flew, the distance between them and the battlefield remained the same. It was neither too far nor too close. On the battlefield, Chu Bei frowned. With the Vulcan's spear in his right hand, his aura continued to rise as he prepared for battle. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The empty space trembled. A countless number of symbols flashed and appeared. They flickered with the light of the great Tao, appearing just like the birth and destruction of a galaxy. A dazzling light halo appeared in the distant sky. A complicated and mysterious order appeared as it flickered. A frightening fluctuation and an incomparable aura entwined together. The empty space was just like a tattered painting that trembled within the unusual light fog, emitting a crashing sound. At a closer look, those obscure rules were flowing with a chaotic light. It was extremely frightening. What exactly did that evil thought do? Gu Yuan looked at Zhu Kuan beside him. His expression was incomparably ugly. He should be summoning the experts from the Great Thousand World. The two Shi ancient gods spoke. He lifted his head and looked at the halo above. His expression was similarly grave. The experts from the Great Thousand World. An existence that is even stronger than that evil thought. The brilliant halo in the distant sky finally split apart while Yao Dan, Yin Jin, and the rest were exclaiming. 100,000 feet large immortal bird flew out from the halo and hovered in the sky. The golden wings of the immortal bird were just like clouds that covered the sky. They were filled with a vast and mighty light. With a flap of its wings, thunderclouds covered the sky and the sky shattered. This was an incomparably frightening scene. Just the flapping of its wings caused the empty space to appear like it had been struck. It swiftly cracked and the cracks spread into the distance. What tier magical beast is that? The feeling that it gives me is even more frightening than the overlord of the magical beasts, the ancient void dragon. Countless number of experts from the Central Plains revealed shocked faces. All of them stared at the enormous immortal bird that had appeared in the image above with disbelief. Their mouths were wide open. The expressions of the experts from the 6 clans in the battlefield instantly turned pale when the immortal bird appeared. Horror surged within their eyes. The might that the latter had unleashed was not any weaker than the 2 Shi ancient god from earlier. Clearly, this 100,000 feet large immortal bird had already reached the Do-Di class. Who is calling me? While everyone's eyes were gathered on the body of the immortal bird, an illusionary voice that was difficult to capture reverberated over the entire empty battlefield and even the Do-Chi continent. Hearing this voice, not only the experts in the battlefield, but everyone on the continent also threw their gazes to the sky in unison. As the illusionary voice sounded, a huge figure appeared above the 100,000 feet large immortal bird. It sat cross-legged and its entire body was surrounded by a layer of bright silver light. It was like a god that was patrolling the 3 realms. Who is that person? Where did he come from? Could it be the legendary Do-Di? Oh my god! Is this the aura of a Do-Di? On the Do-Chi continent, the experts who did not know what was going on all focused their eyes on the figure seated cross-legged on the back of the Heaven Luan. While their faces were shocked, their eyes also contained confusion. an existence above the Do D class. As for the experts from the 6 clans in the battlefield, each of them involuntarily inhaled a breath of cold air. Their bodies began to tense up. For such an unknown existence, even if the other party only needed to lift a finger, it would be able to crush them into dust. Disciple Han Chi greets teacher. The almost transparent evil thoughts immediately flew to the side of the Heaven Luan and knelt down devoutly towards the huge figure on the back of the ladder. Disciple, you are actually still alive. The emotions of the figure on the back of the Heaven Luan clearly fluctuated after seeing the evil thoughts. His voice contained joy. However, his expression once again became solemn after sensing the shaky aura of the evil thoughts. He shook his head and sighed. Disciple, you should not have called teacher over. You have exhausted the last of your soul strength. Even teacher is unable to save you. Teacher, disciple does not beg you to save me. I only beg that you can help me kill him. The evil thoughts agglomerated an arm after saying this. They pointed at Chu Bei, who was holding the fire god's spear. So it is you who has cut off my disciple's path of survival. After hearing the evil thoughts, the huge figure on the back of the Heaven Luan turned his head and looked at Chu Bei. His eyes were filled with a chill. Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the rest immediately shuddered when they met the eyes of the huge figure. Their bodies began to tremble involuntarily. The pressure emitted by the huge figure far surpassed the Tu Shi ancient god by 100 or even 1,000 times. Compared to the calmness he had when facing the evil thoughts earlier, Chu Bei's expression had become solemn. He had already switched to holding the fire god's spear with both hands. Die. The huge figure on the Heaven Luan coldly glanced at Chu Bei. His words were cold in the forest without any emotion. Immediately, a substantial and terrifying pressure surged out from his body. It was like a surging river as it descended towards Chu Bei. Everywhere it passed, space collapsed and great Tao symbols flickered. Chi-Chi. However, just as this terrifying pressure was about to envelop Chu Bei's body, Chu Bei let out a loud cry. He held the fire god's spear with both hands and stabbed out in succession. He disintegrated the all-powerful pressure. No wonder you were able to force my disciple to the point of exhausting all of his soul strength to summon me. I did not expect that you have actually touched upon this realm. Unfortunately, it is still far from enough in front of me. The figure on the back of the Heaven Luan sized up Chu Bei once again. Although there was some surprise in his words, he still had an arrogant expression as if he was looking down on all living beings. A mysterious and incomprehensible strange sound began to be emitted from his mouth after his calm words sounded. It was as if he was chanting scriptures. Every time he chanted a word, a huge mountain of runes would appear out of thin air and smash towards Chu Bei. A mountain of runes with every word. This was an extremely frightening scene. Can Boss Chu deal with this fellow? On the battlefield, Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest had extremely heavy hearts. The huge figure sat on the 100,000 feet tall green Luan as he continued to chant strange sounds. The entire space resonated with him and shook intensely. Runes jumped out from his mouth one after another and turned into huge mountains. Looking at the rune mountains above his head that carried an incomparably terrifying aura, Chu Bei's body burned with raging flames. The tip of the fire god's spear was also shrouded in flames. Chu Bei held the spear with both hands and faced the attack. This was the most difficult battle Chu Bei had ever fought since the system was activated. In the past battles, he had relied on the system to suppress his opponents. This time, even though he had used a level 12 upper grade item, he still felt powerless. If the boss only had one evil thought, this battle would have ended. However, who would have thought that this so-called boss would actually summon an old boss? Just as Chu Bei shattered the 7th rune mountain and was about to attack the 8th rune mountain, 2 rune mountains suddenly arrived at the same time. Bang! A low and dull sound was heard. Chu Bei had only destroyed 1 rune mountain before the other rune mountain smashed onto his body. Chu Bei spat out a mouthful of blood as the power in his body surged. This was also the first time he had been injured in his smooth cultivation journey. Moreover, his injuries were very serious. Boss Chu, Xiao Yin, Ziyin, Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan and the rest immediately shouted when they saw that Chu Bei was injured. Then, a few figures charged towards Chu Bei. The fastest amongst them was the Tu Shi ancient god. However, although the Tu Shi ancient god had already become a Do Di, he was still far from being able to match up against the Rune Mountain. In just one exchange, the energy from the Rune Mountain had turned him into his original body and his aura had fallen to rock bottom. Chapter 182. Boss Chu is injured. Even he isn't a match for that fellow? If that's the case, who else in this world can stop that person? The experts from the 6 clans stared blankly at Chu Bei, who had vomited blood. After which, they looked at the huge figure with a disdainful expression on the Tian Luan's back. Their expressions were extremely solemn. The system has detected that the host is injured. The host is currently in 100% danger level. In view of the host's good performance, the protection mechanism has been activated. Reward one-time use privilege of a high-grade level 13 product. The host has descended on the Dolua continent plane and established a business empire with a reputation value of 95. The host has unlocked the right to use level 12 to 13 products. Suddenly, the system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's mind. Chu Bei was stunned, following which, his solemn expression became relaxed once again. The host has successfully exchanged for a high-grade level 13 product. You have obtained 100% of the Fire God Zhurong's strength. Time limit, 15 minutes. The system's voice sounded once again. A mere ant. You aren't even a match for me. Yet, you actually tried to block Master's attack. How laughable. You overestimate yourself. The tottering Xian Yan glanced at the Tu Shi ancient god, whose aura was extremely weak. He had already reverted to his original form. A cold snort was emitted from his mouth. His words were filled with ridicule. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Several rune mountains smashed towards them. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan and the rest lifted their heads to look at the rune mountains that were getting closer and closer. They could feel the aura on them, but they could not summon any will to resist. Their eyes were filled with intense unwillingness. However, when the rune mountains were about to smash onto Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan and the rest, layers of spatial ripples appeared in the void. Within the ripples, the incomparably large rune mountains seemed to have been grabbed by an invisible force. They suddenly stopped, following which, they began to vibrate on the spot. Following which, clear cracking sounds rang out. They turned into rune fragments and disappeared into the void. It's broken. Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the rest were startled as they watched the rune mountains disappear. Subsequently, they subconsciously looked at Chu Bei. At some point in time, the blood at the corner of his mouth had been wiped clean. His face, which had turned pale due to the heavy blow from the rune mountains, had once again regained some color. Moreover, Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the others sensed that the other party's aura seemed to have changed once again. He actually neutralized Master's attack. How is this possible? The evil thoughts that could completely dissipate at any time also cast their gaze towards Chu Bei. Their words were filled with surprise and disbelief. In his eyes, his master was his belief, an invincible existence. Even in the great wide world, his master was a famous existence. He could not accept that someone on this small continent could withstand his master's attack, even if the other party might also be from the Great Thousand World. After destroying all the rune mountains, Chu Bei looked at the Tu Shi ancient emperor and pointed. A lump of solid flame quickly entered the Tu Shi ancient god's body. Following that, the Tu Shi ancient god's weak aura quickly recovered. Within a few seconds, he returned to his human form. Senior, your aura. The Tu Shi ancient god was stunned as he looked at Chu Bei. He vaguely felt the urge to kneel and kowtow. As someone who was born from a heavenly flame and had swallowed 20 types of heavenly flames to become a Do Di, he was extremely sensitive to the aura of flames. Earlier, he had sensed a kind of flame aura from the other party's body that was above his own. However, that feeling earlier was not intense. At this moment, however, this feeling had already seeped deep into his limbs and bones. Accurately speaking, The flame aura that the other party gave him was not a real flame. Instead, it was a flame that could command all flames. It was the ruler of all flames. I have already undone the first seal. All of you can just stay by the side and watch. Leave the rest to me. Chu Bei placed his hands behind his back. His eyes swept over the two Shi ancient god, Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the others before he stepped forward. A bright and dazzling purple-red light surged wherever he passed. In the blink of an eye, Chu Bei arrived in the sky above the huge figure. He faced it head-on. His clothes danced with the wind, and his back appeared just like an unrivaled god. Seal? So Boss Chu's previous strength was already sealed. He has only undone the first seal now? In that case, how many seals has he added on himself? Gu Yuan, Zhu Kuan, and the others faced each other. They were extremely shocked and their hearts were unable to calm down. Who exactly are you? The huge figure was still seated on the green lawn in the battlefield. However, the gaze that it used to look at Chu Bei had become a little more serious after Chu Bei had destroyed the symbol mountain. Chu Bei did not reply. All he did was smile. Forget it. Regardless of where you came from or what kind of background you have, you will have to pay the price for attacking my disciple. The huge figure stood up from the green lawn after the dense cold voice sounded. Its appearance, which was originally covered by the turbid aura, had become even more illusory. It was difficult to see through it. Screech. The heavenly lawn under the huge figure's feet appeared to have received an order. It emitted a screech and lightning interweaved on its golden wings. A cold wind churned intensely, after which one could only see its golden wings shake. All the essence of the continuous mountain range below gathered and entered its wings. It charged into its mouth and nose. In an instant, the aura of the heavenly Luan soared to an incomparably frightening level. However, its body was the exact opposite. It continued to shrink and finally transformed into a golden longsword that was emitting a bright and dazzling light. This longsword was extremely strange. A pair of golden wings had actually extended from the body of the sword and emitted an incomparably holy aura. Swoosh! The golden longsword flickered and transformed into a ray of light that penetrated the sky and headed straight for Chu Bei's forehead. The world shook because of this sword. At this moment, Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, Yao Dan, and the others finally understood just how frightening this green wand was. Even they had completely stopped circulating the Do Qi within their bodies under the might of this golden longsword. It was as though they had suddenly become ordinary people. The most frightening thing was that they seemed to have lost their senses and were unable to move for a time. In their sight, there was only the world-destroying divine sword in the distant sky and Boss Chu, who was still calm and composed even though he was about to be penetrated. Clang! Chu Bei casually lifted his right hand just as the peerless divine sword was about to penetrate his forehead. 2 fingers were extended, after which those 2 fingers gently pinched the peerless divine sword in front of a couple of shocked gazes. The sharp aura of the divine sword that could kill anyone it met also came to a sudden halt. At the same time, the binding force from the divine sword on Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and the others disappeared, and they once again regained their freedom. Such a frightening sword was actually pinched by 2 fingers. Moreover, from the looks of it, Boss Chu appears to be very casual. It seems like he did not use any strength. Boss Chu is mighty. The experts from the 6 clans swallowed when they saw this scene. Their heated eyes were fixed on Chu Bei's body. Their eyes were filled with worship. Crack! A clear cracking sound drifted over the battlefield and spread into the distance. In the next moment, continuous miserable wails resounded in everyone's ears. They were filled with intense pain. When they looked over, they saw that the golden sword had been broken into 2 by Chu Bei's 2 fingers. It had once again transformed into the Skylwan's body. However, the Skylwan had been split into 2 at this moment. Golden blood sprayed across the sky like a long river. It was wailing incessantly. It was enduring unbearable pain, and its wails caused one to feel pity for it. Stop! The huge figure immediately shouted. At the same time, it extended a large jade white hand. It was sparkling and translucent like a jade stone and slapped towards Chu Bei. This palm flowed with the dense aura of the great Tao, and it was all-powerful. However, even though the huge figure had attacked at the first possible moment, it was still too late. Chu Bei used his palm as a blade and slashed down. An enormous blade formed from blazing flames tore through space. Various powerful flame creatures could be seen everywhere it passed. The flaming blade flashed past the two halves of the Skylwan's body. In an instant, the Skylwan's whales disappeared into the sky. The two halves of its body also disappeared along with it. Boom! In the end, the flaming blade merged with the huge figure's palm and shattered the sky. Master's mount has been killed. Looking at the Skylwan that had been destroyed, the evil thought was like a bolt from the blue. His expression was numb. You killed my mount. I won't let you enter the cycle of reincarnation. The huge figure's cold gaze locked onto Chu Bei. He shouted loudly, and his voice was filled with fierce killing intent. At this moment, the misty fog around the huge figure dissipated, revealing his true appearance. His shocking appearance was no more than 26 or 27 years old. He was extremely handsome and full of vitality. This was different from the solemn, simple, and lethargic appearance that everyone had imagined. It overturned everyone's guesses. Die. With his mount killed, the huge figure was burning with anger. He used his true strength, and a vast and surging power pierced through the sky. As the cold syllable fell, a huge axe appeared in the huge figure's hand. The axe blade was surrounded by a strange black light. With just one look, anyone below the Emperor realm would lose their mind. The huge figure took a step forward and swung the axe, slashing diagonally at Chu Bei. Immediately, the void split open, and a pitch-black rainbow traversed across the sky, causing one's heart to palpitate. Want to kill me? You are far from qualified. Facing the terrifying attack, Chu Bei's face did not have the slightest fear, and was calm and composed. As his indifferent voice fell, his body suddenly enlarged, standing indomitable, and gradually became as tall as the sky. At this moment, the flame power in Chu Bei's body was circulating crazily. Various colored flames rippled in the void around him and quietly hung around him. It gave people an indescribable pressure, and all living beings had to look up to him. Behind him, there was a raging sea of fire. Various fire-type living beings could be seen jumping in the sea of fire, including the 22 types of heavenly flames on the Do-Chi continent other than the Tu-Shi ancient god. Chu Bei also made his move. With a thrust of his spear, the entire sky of the battlefield cracked and was divided into 4 areas. The elites of the 6 clans were stunned. They looked at the center of the battlefield in a daze, waiting for the collision of the 2 supreme attacks. However, the shocking confrontation that they expected did not appear, and there was not even an explosion. Almost in an instant, Chu Bei's powerful stab annihilated the huge figure's axe blade as easily as crushing dry weeds. The huge axe shattered, and the huge figure's pupils suddenly shrank, and his body staggered backward. Obviously, this huge axe was connected to his origin. When the axe was destroyed, he also suffered a backlash. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.